The Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by Underdog. PGA Championship final bets, the weather, one and done. Underdog plays, a complete slate overview, your questions towards the end, and of course, building our DraftKings lineup for the Millionaire Maker a little bit later on in the show. If you're watching this after the fact, hit the time codes. If you're watching it live, I don't know when the times are going to come on, but one time I do know is 8 p.m. Eastern time this evening on Mayo Media Network. I'm going to be live doing the absolute finalized update for any news that happens over the course of Wednesday, and all your questions. Any question you got, I will load up that video as a schedule after this show. And if you have questions and you don't know if you're going to be there on time or not, you can load in your questions there, 8 hours in advance, and you'll be at the top of the queue. And you can just come back and watch it after the fact, and your questions will be near the top. So a reminder to all of you to smash the like for this episode and sub to Mayo Media Network. Those are hugely important things that you should be doing right now. All right, you've done it. Tambo, what's up? You ready for a Millionaire Maker?
Ready to get my first Millie Maker ever, Pat. This is going to be the one.
Are you positive about that?
No, but I'm thinking positive here, so we're going to be good.
So what do you make of the slate? Well, let's begin with that. We always try to start with sort of a macro view of what's going on with the PGA Championship. I thought you asked a really intriguing question to me off air right before we came on. Why don't you hit me with that?
Yeah, I think if you're talking about the same thing, it was just about how people are considering this, because a lot of talk around the PGA Championship, the venue, all these factors, but we have so much history at this venue and we know quite a bit about it. Yet a lot of the stats and things that I'm seeing posted out there are focused around major championships and PGA championships versus, is it more of a Quail Hollow thing to you, and the fact that we're at a course that we know a ton about?
And I'm of the mind that I do think that there is something to PGA Championship history because of at least the last 5 years, different time of year. It's now always in May, the setup that the PGA of America, more on the PGA of America on Monday, by the way, because I have some fun details about this, Tambo. It's really ridiculous when you boil it down. And I think that people will want to hear that. Maybe on the Cut Sweat live show, I'll reveal it there. But I think that I would look more at course history for the types of players and the course form that I want, that we see the majority of years at Quail Hollow for the former Wells Fargo, now the Truist. So like a 70-30 split is where I would be looking at. I think it's more, how much more can they really rig it out than they normally do? Like when they play the Wells Fargo, it's not like they have the rough shaved out.
Yeah, that was going to be my take as well. So we were on the same page. I know not everybody's aligned, and to each their own. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But an example that was brought up yesterday was like Rory McIlroy, and we know how good he is coming off the career Grand Slam. We know how good he's been at this course. But people say this PGA Championship stuff for one guy, but then they don't relate it to the other. And the example with Rory was that his last 6 PGA Championships, it's been like 33rd, 49th, 12th, 7th, 8th. Yes, those are good results, but are they good enough for this slate when we get to it later on DraftKings? Are they good enough for other factors? So I would, again, but I'm not throwing Rory McIlroy out of the window here. So that would kind of be my take on it, that I'm going to go more on the side of we know a ton about this course and go with the course history, course fit, all that goes with the recent form to match with it.
So if you're thinking of course fit, are you just in line with everyone else and be like, hey, I want bombers?
You can definitely fit some of the other guys in there, but I certainly think it doesn't hurt. And in most cases, that's the other angle, Pat, is that these bombers are all these good players are typically not what everyone's going to consider bombers, but they get it out there more than enough to make things happen. And we see that week after week at these types of events. So I'm going to just stick to that.
I'm on the same page with you. And I do feel like it's priced in as well, where even the guys that are a bit shorter who are having good years are now at least priced both on the odds board and on DraftKings, like the mid 8s.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I think that'll come up too when we get to stuff later. Like, I brought this up yesterday, but the win equity this week amongst the top 3 in Scotty, Rory, Bryson is just a ton, right? Compared to the rest of the guys. And when you build out on DraftKings, or whether you're thinking about it for other angles this week, there's definitely, it's a hard time to make up for those 3, right? If you're looking at building out in a different way.
Yeah, I feel like you can, depending on how you feel about the next tier of players, I think that there's not necessarily unrealized win equity with them, but I do think that maybe the gap isn't as large as that we are considering. That if you take Scotty, Bryson, and Rory, per the odds, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
But how much more? Like, do you think that they actually have double the chance to win than Justin Thomas or Xander Schauffele?
No, well, yeah, I'm with you. I'm aligned on this, and that's why I said it'd be fun when we get to it later. But just certain, especially it's the PGA Championship, we can see we're going to see a big name win. I mean, that's typically always the case, but at this event, I think, like you said, I liked how you phrased it, unrealized win equity in those guys. Like if Xander or Morikawa or Rahm or JT, and they have a little bit, but nothing compared to those top three. If one of those guys win, nobody's going to be surprised. So there's certainly ways that you can do it to focus on that perspective. And even when we get to DraftKings later, there's going to be a ton of ways that even if you have, let's say, Justin Thomas winning this thing, that doesn't mean you have to start your lineups with $9,900 Justin Thomas. He just should be in your lineups, but you can get another guy on top of him or even a couple that make up and still score well. And then just got to get your punts right.
What do you think the majority build is going to be, the consensus build? Do you think it's going to be two of the big guys, try to get in the next best possible player that you can after you build out your three duds?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be stars and scrubs. It's going to be at least two, if not three. And you asked me earlier what I thought of the slate, and I thought my guy Hoop over at Ship It Nation did a good job explaining yesterday. The 5K range is key, and not because of why you think. Everyone thinks, oh, there's 5K guys, but then you're just, I'm the one that's against this all the time of your diamond in the roughs and all this. It's hard to really pick one and get it right, but it's not about that. It's about the fact the 6K range becomes 7K guys. So you will actually see it when we get to it later, but all the guys that would normally be in the 7K range are in the 6s. The pricing didn't change that much. It looks more fair. It looks like it makes sense up at the top. But the other thing is when you have the factor of Rory and Bryson being the most popular, not even Scotty, then Scotty also at 13.4 sort of comes out of that equation. And so that's why the stars and scrubs works so easily. And if you'll have some guys in the 5K you like, your boys, you and Hoey and all these guys are down in that range, give or take. So those guys can all fit in to make a lot of things work up top as well. So 2 to 3 stars, no problem fit.
What do you make of the weather? Because I'm looking at the forecast right now. It seems to be pretty balanced both days, that there's less wind in the morning on Thursday, more in the afternoon, and it's exactly the same on Friday. So the waves themselves appear like they're going to balance out. But we've had heavy rain Monday and Tuesday, a little bit this morning currently, as we're speaking right now in Charlotte. That's going to end pretty soon. And then you had mentioned, and I've read about it all week too, the sub-air system to suck a lot of the moisture out of the greens. They don't have that underneath the fairways like they do at Augusta. So I do think that Thursday in particular is still going to play a lot soggier than maybe the rest of the week is going to go.
Definitely a possibility. I guess not something I'm putting too much of a factor into just because I don't see, it's really tough to say. But I guess the one thing I would say is I was thinking back, Pat, what year was it the PGA Championship where Justin Thomas was doing the interview coming out of the rain and then ended up missing the cut after it was seemingly clear that he was going to make it? I thought that was one of these years at this event, but maybe it was the US Open, but I don't think we'll see anything like that. There's nothing that's going to pop up and change the terms of what we're going to see here.
No, from what I can see right now, it's going to be in the high 60s, low 70s most of the day today in Charlotte. And that's going to help dry it up a little bit. And then we get into tomorrow. We'll have almost 24 hours of no rain before the first tee actually hits tomorrow morning. And then you're looking at, high 60s, low 70s, into the mid 70s, into the high 80s or into the low 80s later on in the afternoon. I don't think that's going to be enough to take all the moisture out. Then you get into Friday and the day starts in the low 70s and goes into the 90s. That's when the course is going to start baking itself out, I think. So if you do, I just think there's going to be, depending on the pin locations, and they screwed this up at the Truist last week really badly, is that they put all of the easiest pin positions on Thursday. And it made the course seem like everyone was just going to absolutely tear it apart. What they should have done, because the conditions were worse Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, is save the easier pin positions for Friday or Saturday, put the tough ones in on Thursday, and then you get a really different winning score at that course. And I would imagine that you're going to get your medium to difficult pins on Thursday, because I think that the scoring is going to be more optimal Thursday than any of the other days.
Yeah, we could take advantage of that when we get to Underdog maybe. But I think, I don't expect it's going to be any different than that. I think it's we see it at US Opens and stuff sometimes where it starts out super easy and then all of a sudden the ball's bouncing off concrete on day 2, 3, and 4. So it's anything can happen, but I'm not really factoring the weather in at all right now.
Yeah, you're not playing specific PM AM splits because of the weather. You might do it to do it, but it's not dictated based on a wind advantage.
Which I'm good with, because I will say when we get to it later, usually when I'm talking about building in sets, it's around something to do with the wave advantage or weather wave advantage. Obviously, there's a difference between the two. Sometimes you're just doing it like we've talked about to get naturally different. But I will say here, this is I don't know how to best put it, Pat, but it feels like the laziest major ever. When we talk about lazy weeks, no major is ever a lazy week. But because the pricing sets up the way it does, and just the sort of everything we have going on in the world of golf right now, it seems very clear to peg who's going to be popular in each range, in each spot. Like you can pretty much tell the chalk, and that'll relate even further to higher stakes, smaller field stuff. So there is a ton of ways to get different this week. And I think we've got a few of them that we talk pre-show that we'll get to later on.
Yeah, I think that you're going to have to lean into the chalk. Even someone like Scotty's probably still going to be 20% when it comes down to it. And you're going to have all of the ownership sucked up at the very top by the big three. I think that Justin Thomas is going to be pretty popular as well. And as I pointed out to you, like Ludwig is right there. It's not that people don't like him, is that he's sandwiched in between Thomas and Bryson. Therefore, he just simply cannot be that own. That the want is going to be to pair Rory with Bryson, Scotty with Rory, Scotty with Bryson, or some combination, or maybe Justin Thomas with them. If you simply just go Rory Ludwig or Bryson Ludwig, it really opens it up for you, and you just take out a lot of similar lineups, I think.
Yeah, and I think there's even more options in there. Like I don't see a lot of ownership even going to Xander or Morikawa, for example. These are top tier options. Last year's PGA Championship winner, who looks fine, by the way, in Xander. Morikawa, I could see, he's 10-4. Maybe some people want to go Rahm, JT, or if not, go above him to Bryson, Rory. So I think there's a bunch of ranges that are going to get completely squeezed here. And that's going to make for a big opportunity. So in something like the $25 Millie Maker or something like the $5 this week that has 100K up top, I think I'm going to take a ton of risk. I'm going to take on a ton of risk and just not fully go into all these guys that you're talking about there up top. I'm going to look to get different completely.
Of note, Cuss picked John Rahm to win.
There you go. So he's done. Cross him off the list.
Yeah. Easy fade right there. Bryson was his number 2 pick, and that's where I'm leading off my bets. I, like the world, am betting on Bryson this week to win. All of my bet numbers are coming from coolbet.com. If you go to the link down in the description right now, there is an ultimate trip giveaway, Tambo. Trip for 4 to Cabot.
Let's go. I keep talking about this. I say you can go. That's the difference.
I'm going next week, so I'll be there next week. The giveaway isn't for next week. It's for later on in the year. But if you sign up for CoolBet, it's available for anyone in Canada outside of Ontario. Highly recommend that you go sign up. I have a boost. Make Miss the Cut parlay in the lobby as well. It's Tom Kim to miss, Burmeister to make, Jagger to make, and it's up to 5.5. I think it's plus 556 is what the boost gets it up to if you really want to go into that. I played it. I mean, it's my boost. You can go do that. Find that in the lobby at CoolBet right now. So just hit the description. You can find it all down there. But my bets, Bryson 16-1, Justin Thomas 19-1, Mean Dean, the Burmista Mista Lady Tambo, 150-1 with 8 places. Those are the big 3. I also have Hatton and Hideki at 50-1 from back in January, but I would not bet them at their current odds, which hopefully works in my favor because I never pick any of these things right anyway, that maybe those two will just randomly, one of those two will just randomly win and I'll win. Yeah,
that could be the case there. Obviously, the Bryson bet just keeps getting bet. I've seen it. Some people talk about it in single digits in places now.
It's 8-1.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would bet it at 8-1, honestly. I'd probably just double down on at this point. I mean, I like Bryson to win. So maybe you do want to take it at 8-1. And even my 16, I've seen 20s out there from certain people, but we have to deal with the reality that we live in right now. And I think that 9.5 is probably the best number if you scoured the internet that you're going to find. But plus 850, 8-1 is right around where it's at. Rory's now the favorite in the betting market. And one of the reasons that I liked Bryson so much is that I think he has about of an equal chance to win, maybe even a little bit less than Rory and Scotty, maybe more than Scotty, because Scotty has no familiarity with this course whatsoever. And I think that it plays more to the Rory Bryson bombs away skill set than it does to Scotty. But the fact that he was double or triple the odds of those guys just made him a very intriguing bet. To look at it today without any money down on it, if people are just getting in, I do think that Thomas is probably the best value of the bigger guys because he's still 19-1 in a lot of spots, maybe even 17-1. That now you're getting him at more than double what you're getting Bryson, triple what you're getting the other guys. And I don't think that's reflective of the actual win equity of a guy with 2 PGA championships. One at this course comes in on a run with a win and 2 top 2s in his past 4 starts against all the best players in the world. That, no, I don't think he has the same chance to win as those other 3 guys, but I think it's closer right now than what the odds would determine.
Yeah, I agree with all of it. Actually, the Thomas one couldn't have been laid out any better. Like you say, from a value perspective on the betting board, it is what it is. Whether you believe in it or like it or whatever, you can have your own opinion. But in the take that you just put out, that's still at that number, give or take most places. I'm good with that. And there's no way to fault anybody for taking Bryson at those original numbers. I don't know if you'd love it as much right now, and most probably wouldn't have room on their card or whatever, but I get why everybody was in on him, especially I think some people got him at 18 and 20 and 22 even. Wasn't there at one point on Bryson?
Yeah, it's funny. On the Masters recap show, I spoke about it with Feinberg, and I went and looked at the odds, and Bryson was at 20-1. I was like, that's got to be the bet, right? And then I just didn't bet it, and I waited till last week and bet it at 16-1. And then immediately it got crushed the moment markets opened again on Monday. So here we are. This would be the biggest community win in the history of golf betting if Bryson wins this PGA Championship, which almost leads you to believe that he'll probably miss the cut.
I don't know if he'll miss the cut, but he probably won't win.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably, if you just go on overall odds of win probability, chances are he's not going to win.
Yeah, and I mean, the Scotty thing, again, these numbers, I know it's impossible to bet these guys in some cases, for most at least, to look at that and be like, okay, I'll bet these numbers, but I don't think the course familiarity is going to be a problem for Scotty. I'm not really worried about that, and we'll talk more when we get to DraftKings later on.
Well, there's that part of it, but I do think that his skill set in particular, and it really depends on how the rough plays. Like, hitting fairways at Quail is difficult anyway. If it's baked out a little bit more, it's going to become even more penal. That he is more accurate than Bryson and Rory, but he's just simply not in the same league as them in terms of distance. And if it comes down to very few people are hitting the fairway anyway, the bomb and gouge into the rough and playing it out of the rough, easier to hit a wedge than a 7-iron out of it.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about Scotty Scheffler. The last time you told me it may not be, or the field may be able to get after because of certain thing about Scotty, he won by 8 strokes at the last tournament. So I think it's, in my opinion, Bryson, everything you just said about Scotty can be the inverse for Bryson. We know he bombs it. Let's see what irons show up for him this week. It's just automatic, right? Bryson bombs it, no doubt. But if he brings those irons that he brought to the Masters, that ain't going to work out here.
No, it's not. It means he's not going to win. He still finished top 10 at the Masters. Was the worst iron player. No, he wasn't the worst iron player in the field, but anyone in contention, he was by far the worst. That if so you have to build a different path for these guys, right? Like if you were going to say, here's how they win, and then you try to map it out, it feels to me like Bryson has the easiest path to what he does well consistently. Because with Scheffler, you're going to need him to putt. And that's always a real dicey proposition. He's been much better on the greens. Maybe I shouldn't be so fearful of that, but he's not as long as the other guys. So his strokes gained off the tee just simply are not going to be as high as Rory and Bryson unless they go completely wayward with the driver and hit it out of bounds or something like that. The irons, the distinct advantage goes to Scotty Scheffler in that regard. Like that's how he wins. He competes off the tee by hitting a lot of fairways, crushes them all with his irons. We know that his short game is excellent, and the putter needs to show up, not to a basis of 8 gain strokes, but he needs to be like +2, +3. That's good enough for Scotty and the rest of his game to get to the winner's circle. So that's his path. Rory and Bryson have similar paths. I trust Rory to hit his irons a lot better. Rory's short game, very, very good. Not as good as Bryson's in these sort of conditions. And so let's call them even off the tee. Rory has the advantage with his irons slightly. I mean, based on just going back and looking at all of the numbers that Bryson has put out, generally speaking, his irons are very good. Just his irons at the Masters were not good at all, especially his long irons. But typically, he's very good from long distance and very good with his wedges. And in chipping off these surfaces from the rough, that tends to be where he does really well. One of the best sand players, too, in golf right now. So with Rory, you need his putter to show up, which, again, is always a risky proposition. And we've seen his wedge play just be absolutely abysmal. Not a ton of wedge shots at this course, which could be a saving grace, which is why, if we were just making pure power rankings, I'd have Rory at number 1.
Same.
But the odds and the pricing don't necessarily reflect that. I have him above Scotty. I have Bryson above Scotty, but there's still the 3 of them on a tier by themselves. And with Bryson, you kind of mentioned it. Like out of all those 3, you would trust him to make the most putts, right?
Typically, yeah. That's what frustrates you when you're not on Bryson and he's doing well. You're like, gosh, this guy just can't miss. Or even when it's like, oh, finally he had a bad iron shot. He's no way this putt's going to be anywhere near the hole. Oh, wait, on 18 at the Masters, speaking of that one, was like, bang, drops it on the end of that day. I forget which round it was. But just to note, that type of stuff will frustrate you. But I guess my point was, even outside of the Scotty factor, because we kind of just went through that one, is who would you take right now if Rory's 5-1 and Bryson's 8-1 and you didn't have any money in yet? Would you take Rory at 5-1 or Bryson at 8-1?
Bryson. That's still that's
Rory.
That's still a big, like, if they were the same odds, I would bet Rory, but that's still, I mean, if one guy is, I think he's 4.5-1, one guy is 8-1, you're getting still almost double the odds to bet on Bryson.
Yeah, I like this. I like the way you said it with Rory for the power ranking. Like that would still be the case no matter what. So if I was just going, I mean, you're not getting odds because I mean, it's 8, you are, because it's 8 and 4.5, like you said. But I mean, for me, I'm just looking at it like, who do I have to win? And if the odds are already that, weakened for a guy like Bryson, from 16 made perfect sense. 18, 20, all those numbers, I can't fault anybody at the current number. And when we get to DraftKings later on, so it's not just this segment or for later, for now, it's ownership when we get to it later. Him and Rory will have similar ownership, I think. I want Rory for $700 more.
Okay. I mean, I think that's a very logical response, and I think that's a good discussion to have. And then for Thomas, for me, it's his path is more difficult, but he is by far the best iron player of all these guys. Mm-hmm. Actually, that's not true. He and Scotty are the two best iron players.
I guess, yeah. I'm thinking about the other, when you're talking Rory, Bryce, and him. But yeah, when you add Scotty in the mix, that's what I say. But Scotty, you're paying a premium across everywhere. The betting boards, the pick'ems, you're paying for it on DraftKings, all these different factors. But you already made the case for JT, and I thought it was perfect. There's no other way to put it. It's value. It's good. That's, you'll have to think about that later on when building lineups. He's going to be heavily owned at 9,900, but that's fine. That's realistically, he could be your third guy in, no problem.
Third guy in, no problem.
Easy. Yeah, we looked at it yesterday. Like if you have him, Rom, and Bryson, you still have over 6K that you can use, and there's legit guys in the.
Do you think I need 6K remaining? Please.
Yeah, exactly.
I could get another guy in the 7s with that.
Yeah, you got guys down low, I'm sure.
So, I mean, the path for JT, I think, hinges on his driving. You expect him to do everything else, but like the putter's been really good for JT. Now, that can always go back the other way, but we haven't seen any signs of that in 3 months now, basically since API, I think it was, when dude couldn't make a putt. So it comes down to his driver. If he can just keep his driver on the screws, he's going to be fine and have a legit chance of winning here. And if you start taking PGA Championship history into effect, then he's the guy.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the case. Even at this course, you talked about how he's played here before and played well. So
he won a PGA Championship here. Although I don't think that the course is going to resemble what it looked like in 2017.
Yeah, that'll be a factor for sure. So I think, again, JT is fine. It's more when we get to sort of some of the other guys. Like Burmeister is the only other guy you really mentioned as a long shot. Do you have other options out there? Like the Hideki Hatton ones you took long ago. I'm fine with them at those 50s, but it's like, yeah, are they really going to win? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'll get lucky if they end up winning. I liked them 3 months ago. I don't really like them all that much now. Although it's still better. I mean, you could probably find a 50 on Hatton, but Hideki's still in that like 40, 45 range. I was shocked that like the numbers didn't completely evaporate. I thought coming into this week, Hatton would end up being like 90-1 or something, and that just never materialized. I just don't like how they're playing at the moment. But Hideki is the anti-form player of the world. He's sort of like old school Siwoo in that way. It's like, it doesn't matter if he misses a cut or is playing poorly. He could just randomly show up in any week.
Yes, that's certainly the case with him. And obviously, if he's even anywhere near in the mix going into Sunday, it's not saying the golfers up top are fearing him, but they kind of should be, because it's just, he's known for that, right? On a Sunday, just to come out, post a low round, and then see where it goes. So I think Decky is interesting when we get to DraftKings later. I don't mind the bet that you have on him, because it's kind of just, if it happens, it happens, great. If not, that's fine. It's Decky, right? You can bet it, you're good.
I think that for a betting card this week, if you seriously listen, you maybe a long shot wins and you're on it, and that's great and everything. I hope if Burmeister wins Tambo, I win a ton of money. Put it that way. However, I think that you want to walk away with your betting card, which is why my betting card is so small for outright winners. Like, it probably would have only been 3 people if I didn't have those futures, that you want to have 2 of the top 6 guys.
Yes, that's been the whole discussion. I think that's accurate.
First round leader. Actually, there are 3 guys that I was thinking about adding as a long shot. Like one of these guys, I want to get your temperature on them. Brooks is one of them. I can get a Brooks at 60. I know. I don't like it either, but I see 60 next to Brooks at a PGA Championship, and I'm like, I've made worse bets, I feel like.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I'm still debating it. It seems horrible, but it's still Brooks. I don't know what's up with all the like no shows for the media appearances and interviews and stuff like that. Did you see that yesterday?
No, I didn't. As I revealed to Jeff on Monday, I don't watch a lot of the pressers.
No, me neither. But I was just kept seeing people post about it. I guess he missed his 4:00 presser and he skipped it or something, or didn't go, and then he wasn't in the Champions Dinner picture as well.
Was he pre-gaming for the Panthers game?
Maybe he's a big Brad Marchand fan.
He's walking the line to the Green Mile, walking some lines back.
Yeah, it's possible. We've seen that before.
So the other two guys, just based on skill fit alone, I don't live under any notion that they're going to win, but having that tip, listen, I'm wrong all the time. You might as well have some guy at triple digits out there, especially if I can get some placements. Two guys I don't love, but I do think have the right skills for this place are Burns and Wyndham Clark. Obviously, Wyndham Clark won here 2 years ago. Neither of them are playing good right now, but we always see these random dudes who pop up at majors who have that like elite baseline skill set that we know can win on the PGA Tour, and then just all of a sudden they're there.
Yeah, I was with you on Burns in that conversation, actually. And the funny thing is people, I think people assume he's not playing good right now, but it wasn't great last week, but before that, 5th, 13th, played well here last year at the Wells Fargo. Like, I don't know, to me, he was fine. And I was looking at him on DraftKings more because he's like $7,700. But just in general, I think he's a good option here.
Here's the issue. He's played, I believe, in 13 tournaments so far this year. He has gained strokes on approach 1 time.
Yeah.
That's bad.
It's 1 week. I'm not too worried about. Like, we're here this week is all I care about. So anything can happen any given week. So I'm good with it, and I think there's more reason to it than not. So I prefer him, but you can make the case for Wyndham. I just think I was interested in Burns as soon as you said those two names.
Yeah, listen, I'm interested in Burns as well because I see what you see. It's just hard for me to imagine that he's living off of gaining 6.5 strokes putting every week right now, which is a skill that he has. He's one of the best putters in the world. That maybe the other stuff comes along with it, but I see no signs of that, unfortunately.
Yeah, and maybe it's not there, right? But we've definitely seen it. Just the Byron Nelson, what he put up like a 65 in the last round. He had a couple 67s. Like he can go out there and find it. And like you said, the guys that can putt matter and can show up at any given time. And if the other stuff is just on, I'm fine with it. I'm taking the risk. What did you say the number was on him?
I believe it's down to 150. Let me see. Let me rig this up right now. Maybe it's jumped up a little bit because I've heard his name around a few times so far this week, and just if it was going to be 80, I'd have no interest. But if it is as deep as I recall it being, 150 to 1.
Yeah. So did you even make the case for Burmeister yet?
I mean, Burmeister just matches. I think that Burmeister is a good player. That I think if Burmeister played on the PGA Tour and not live, he would be in like the Corey Connors range this week. He plays long courses well. He plays hard courses well. Dude can't putt to save his life. This is the issue with him. But he is one of the longest players in the field, and he's been very good, especially with long irons.
Yeah, I don't know what's good or what's bad or whatever. I'm not a picks, takes, etc. guy, but for those numbers, like you said, you had him at 150. Like I would definitely want Sam Burns for the same odds.
If I'm going to get I wanted the placings on Burmeister. If you just wanted to bet him with no placings, you can get him at 250.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying Burns was the 150 with the places as well.
No, he's 150 just straight up. I believe he's 110 with the placings. That's why I was thinking about Wyndham Clark, because Burns' putting has been better, but we know that Wyndham Clark can go light it up on the greens from time to time, especially on Poa Travalis, which we've seen over the years. He has the win at this course. We know he has the distance, and his iron play is spotty, but it still shows some signs of life where I see none with Burns right now.
Yeah, I'm going to be fine. Again, I don't really care about too much of that stuff, but I'm going to be interested in Burns for sure.
Okay, interesting stuff. Let's see. What's the number?
It's always random. The thing is, everyone I do shows with, and you're definitely in this camp, you guys are more logical. It makes perfect sense. You have tools, data, everything that you're using to make your case. And I get that. But for me, I'm playing it's all what's at hand. There's a Millie Maker this week with over 100,000 people. There's a $5 tournament that's massive. It's like, you got to take on the boom bust of these guys. And I'm not going to let a few stats or a smaller sample or whatever worry me too much. We see just too many things. It's golf. We say it all the time. Anything can happen. I just think that it's certainly a possibility. And it's a lot of what we're talking about is baked in to the price. That's why Sam Burns is only $7,700 on DraftKings this week. He's been horrible.
Yeah,
really, in general.
But I think that there's a huge distinction between betting someone to win and playing someone on DraftKings, even at a similar price and similar odds. Although we've seen Burns win tournament, he has 6 wins in his career. He hasn't won in ages. At least with Wyndham Clark, he's won 2 elevated events in a major over the past 2 years, including at this course.
Yeah.
He's probably more likely to miss the cut than Burns.
Yeah, that's why they're probably both fine. I was just saying, like, from the perspective when you first brought it up, I do prefer Burns, and I think Wyndham is almost $9K on DraftKings, so that's where it gets tricky. Maybe 8,500 or something, but he's up there in price versus 7,700 for Burns is much lower.
And that kind of leads me back to Brooks again. That if I was just going to pick one of the 3 of them, I know the other guys are double the odds. Do I just say screw it? Let's bet Brooks.
Yeah,
I don't care if he misses the cut. Like, I know that if he's in it towards the end, he can win.
Yeah. And that's going to be another thing to think about too, Pat, because, okay, let's say this. Obviously 60, good number on a 5-time major winner. For what is it, 4 or 5 now? He's got 3?
He has 5.
3 U.S. Opens, 2 PGA Championships, right?
No, 3 PGA Championships, 2 U.S. Opens.
Yeah, flip it. Sorry. So either way, my point being 60 on that is nothing wrong with it. Whatever. It goes to my previous statement, and what's with the betting number. It's going to be harder to think about Brooks Koepka on DraftKings. Like you just talked about the distinction of betting versus DraftKings, when for $200 more, you can get Justin Thomas. Does it come with a ton of ownership? Yes. But that's like the Rory versus Bryson 8-1, 4-1 earlier. Do you want Thomas at 20 or Brooks at 5? I don't know. But I'm just saying it's you definitely feel it's hard to click Koepka, and you know exactly why he's lower owned when you've got Thomas there for $200 more.
First round leaders and the prop bets that I have. These will all be in the newsletter that I send out this afternoon, this evening, whenever I finish writing it. I have most of it written right now. So first round leader, unless you want to talk me into someone, I got 4. I got Connors at 60-1, Keith Mitchell at 80-1, because why not? Akshay at 80-1, and Burmeister at 110-1 for first round leader at the PGA Championship. Was there anyone else that stuck out to you?
No, I like that you took Burmeister there as well, though.
Yeah, if I was going to bet him to win, I need him to have a pretty solid first round, I would imagine.
And you just, from experience, but how many people forget that, right? Like they bet, they're like, oh, I took him outright. Of course, he's first round leader. He'll never hold up over 4 days. And then typically they don't. So I think if you're in on somebody like that, or you have a feeling that it's going to be that way for a good week for them, you can use them on DraftKings for a made cut and some scoring upside. But you may as well get in on the first round leader if you're betting them to win the whole tournament or with places, because the hot start is typically how they get there. So I like that call for sure. Don't have much else to add. The Keith Mitchell one, I get it. It's just pure value. It's just, based on what he's been doing. Obviously, he's going to make 2 bogeys to start the day because he'll be chalk, and everyone will have him as first round leader. So that's not going to work out, but you can do it anyway because value. So 80-1, I get it.
Yeah, the only one I was actually considering was Rory, because you can get Rory, I think, at 18-1 to be first round leader. And Rory comes out hot in PGA Championships.
I like that anyway, almost always. Like it's typical. And I think there was I don't know, shout out to my boy Kenny Kim. He showed me one time there was like a first round leader thing you could follow. You've mentioned it before too, I think, Pat. Anyway, they showed a bunch of that stuff, and it was like Rory does show up a lot of the times that way if it's going to be a good week for Rory. So it's kind of the same thing, but yet it's the opposite effect because nobody wants to bet Rory at 4.5 or 5-1. Why not just take him on first round leader and get your money that way, and then you get it on day one? Then you can do all kinds of fun stuff with that money over the weekend if it happens.
Props I have Kevin Yu, my guy, top Asian, 11-1. I broke this down with Vincenzi and Cam on the Best Bet show, but realistically, if you do, listen, Hideki's in this market. I hope Hideki wins and I lose this bet. That would be fine by me. However, if you take Kevin Yu in this market, I believe that there are 9 Asian players in it right now. Only 2 of them rank inside the top 60 in driving distance. It's Kevin Yu, who's 29th, and it's Ben An, who is 25th. Kevin Yu has better form than Ben An has right now. Now, he's playing goober events, and Ben An's playing good events. That's something to take in consideration. But the iron play for Kevin Yu has been so much better than Ben An right now, and they both can't putt. And Ben An is less than half the number that Kevin Yu is. So I felt like there was a little bit of value on him in this market if the course plays how I think it's going to play. Ditto for the top lefty market, I went with Higo. Obviously, I like Akshay better. I like Bobby Mack better, but at 9-1 for top lefty, he hits it the longest of all of these guys. That if that truly is the main factor, I like that. If you put them together, it's like, I don't know, like 100 or something to 1 in terms of a parlay. Not so bad. I have Mean Gene Chikara, top 30, plus 333. Reed over Day in the head-to-head market at -110. That's at CoolBet right now. And the other one at CoolBet, I felt like this was they could have branded this the Jeff Feinberg special. I thought this was a really strange number. Couldn't figure it out, so I just bet it. Ludwig +120 over Morikawa.
Is that good?
I think so. I mean, if we're talking about which guys' skills do not fit this course, it's Morikawa of all of the top guys. Not to say that he can't overcome that, but the degree of difficulty and the precision that he's going to need this week is so much higher than all of the other guys around him, where Ludwig hasn't been good, obviously, and maybe that's his downfall. He's just not good. But we've seen him perform in major championships, come near the top of the board, and the way that he just effortlessly gets the ball out long and straight, I think gives him a better chance to win this PGA Championship than Morikawa at this course. And I think the degree of difficulty for him just not to make bogeys is there as well.
Yeah, it's +120. Like, I don't think it's gonna be something I'm excited about, but I get what your point is, so I'm fine with it. I think Morikawa is fine too. So I'm not as worried about the skill set when it is these upper echelon golfers, major championship winners. There's just different gears and ways that they can find it. It would not surprise me if Collin Morikawa wins a PGA Championship here.
I mean, no, obviously not. It wouldn't surprise you, but I don't think that his skills plus his form are doing him any favors right now. Like, he was bad at the Truist, man, like really bad. And I know that he came 17th. A lot of that was putting, but he couldn't chip.
60th?
What's it? No, he said he was 17th.
No, I know. I thought you said Morikawa was bad.
Yeah, like when I watched him down the stretch, he was not good. The things that he was.
But you're saying the guy that finished 60th, who was terrible and worse, is better.
Sure, but I want Ludwig at a course where he can go bombs away, which he can do here, which is not necessarily the same path that you would take at the Truist. Like, the Truist should have been really good for Morikawa. He was also bad at the Heritage, which is another course that fits his skill set completely. And just seeing him not be precise with his long irons a week ago, maybe he shakes that off. He's fine this week, but he's going to be in real trouble if that's the case again here.
Yeah, and that's what we could say for a lot of these guys. So, I just thought it was interesting, the comparison of those two last week, because it was like the guy that you're saying his value was worse. And like you said, if he doesn't show up, that's going to be the case. But I'm fine. If you like it at +120, I'm fine with it. It's not something I'd be jumping up or getting excited about. I don't think it's that great. I think it's just two really good golfers that either of them could show up. And so if you like Ludwig, then that's value because you're getting plus money.
I thought it was interesting that only because Ludwig is higher on the betting board than Morikawa too.
Yeah, that does make sense. From that perspective, I get what you're saying too.
It's just people see the form with Ludwig, go back the other way, but then you take a look at the last two courses that he's played, and they're just not Ludwig courses at all.
Yeah, I'm going to be interested in DraftKings for sure. Don't really have much in the betting market, but Ludwig, feels very likely to win a major at some point. And why not now? Why not this one? People just say because he played bad the last little bit or couple of weeks, I should say. But the guy is certainly fine overall, and we know the talent level that he is, just a complete robot out there when he gets rolling. So I could see him getting the job done when nobody's on him.
One and done. Bryson?
We had freaking Cantlay last week, and then we played Henley instead.
Yeah, it was a bad move. Bad idea.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, we almost used Cantlay at Heritage and pivoted onto Justin Thomas, and he won. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
That's true. Thank you for opening my mind up to that. I forgot about that one. So that solves that problem. All right. What do you, okay, let's talk about this like we did last week. People liked, we don't probably need to go as in-depth, but just the obvious. Bryson is going to be what? 40% owned, 50%? Like, he's going to be massive ownership this week because he's a live guy. And not many took him at the Masters. And so it's pretty obvious. You take him now. You just want to live event. You've been talking about him. Everyone's betting him. What's his percentage going to be? And then what's your take on that?
I think he's going to be 45%. And I'm thinking about use him here or at the US Open. And I don't know if his form gets any better than it is right now. So you may as well use him.
Yeah, we're on the same page on that. That's just what I just had this conversation with my dad the other day. It's the same situation. It's like you're sneaky and you saved him for the US Open. Like, he's in the best form right now. And if you're up there, especially, why not just use him, collect the cash if it's, whatever else. So I think it's fine just to roll with him. If you're behind,
yes,
you most certainly want to move off of him and just see what happens here. But what's some of the alternatives, or what else are you thinking there? Because I don't know how much a lot of people will have left at this point from like the big guys up top.
So for us, speaking about the team that we don't have Scotty, don't have Rory, don't have Thomas, Morikawa, Xander, or Ludwig, or Hideki. So we're left with like Cantlay, Fleetwood, Neiman, Rahm, or DeChambeau, basically, is what it boils down to, unless you really want to go into the Seb Straka, Shane Lowry tier, which I don't really want to do at this particular PGA Championship. I like those guys for later in the year, once we get to Scotland, once we get back to more links courses. Maybe the Canadian Open is a spot for those guys, but here I want the guys at the top of the board. I think all things being equal, if you had Rory, still use Rory at this spot because no one has him. Weirdly enough, for my other team inside the top 200, I have Justin Thomas left. So I think that like I have Bryson and I have Justin Thomas. There, I will choose to use Justin Thomas because he's only 29% available. And knowing that he's probably only going to be 7 or 8% owned. Like people will use Justin Thomas, but it's going to be a very small portion of the field. So that way I'm trying to leverage one team off another. The team that's currently in 33rd place, roll with Bryson, knowing that most people ahead of me are also going to use Bryson, that if he doesn't do well, I'm not actually going to lose that much ground. And I can, because I'm 199th and the other one, like somewhat knocking on the door, that if Thomas wins, I'm going to vault way up in that one while not losing ground on my top team.
And JT finishes 1, Bryson finishes 2, and you're in really good shape.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I like both those plays. I'm good with the Bryson call and move on. I don't think, again, to me, it's pretty obvious if you're behind, see what your other options are there. Like you said, there's a second tier you can run into, but I think if you do have like a Xander, you can go Rahm instead. I don't know what people are going to save him for, but I mentioned Cusk being on him. Maybe that's why people are against it. But if you're looking to make up ground, you got to think about these things. And I think it would be fine to go with somebody like Rahm or Brooks as opposed to Bryson if you're trying to play catch up and want to use a live guy. That's just the breakdown on the live side of things.
If you were, Brooks is interesting. Maybe this is the spot to actually use him. Like, don't bet him, don't use him on DraftKings, just use him as a one and done. And if he wins, you're going to be one of 1% of people who picked him.
Yeah. The problem is like leaving Bryson. I guess you're forced to then use him at the US Open, regardless of what's left of him. So yeah, going Brooks here, and then what do? Use Rahm at the Open?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I might run that. I'm way behind. Just
you know what?
I might just run that.
No one has lost money not using Rahm this year.
That's true.
You don't have to. I know it would make sense to use Rahm based on the quality of player he is, but if you can just do, like I use him with the on my one shitty team that I have going on of the 3 that's in like 2700th place. You know who I've used? John Rahm.
I'm going to run it with, because you can use Xander anywhere. I have Xander left this week, and I was thinking about using him, but I think I'll go Brooks, Bryson, Rahm is how I'm going to run these last 3 majors. Because it doesn't matter. I'm so far behind. I'm in like 2000th place. Got to make it up somehow. That's a fun way to do it, just to take a shot, and then I can use Xander anywhere. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, you have to start thinking about it as well, that we still have Memorial coming up, and we still have the Travelers coming up, plus the playoff events. But those 2 in particular, small fields, signature events that you're going to want to have, not necessarily the very top end guys, but at least someone in that next tier that I think it would be savvier to save Xander for Travelers rather than use him here when you can use a live guy here, if that's what you have left.
Yeah. The quote just came up that Rory was talking to the reporters about the not having the conversation with Bryson at the Masters. He's like, I don't know what this guy was expecting. We're trying to win the Masters. Like, we're not having a conversation here, mate. So yeah, that sounds about right. He said what's up in the beginning and then moved on. We'll see if those 2 end up pairing up again late in this one. But I think there's going to be some other big names at the top of the board that have something to say about that. So I don't expect to see it personally.
Let's talk Underdog, because if you use code Mayo at Underdog right now, you're going to get yourself a deposit bonus of up to $1,000 and a free pick in the Pick'em game, which is huge this week, Tambo, because there's make and miss the cut options. And I rigged up one, the same one that's up on Coolbet. I played on Underdog as well. Jaeger and Burmeister to make, Tom Kim to miss. But I have it up on the screen right now. How do you feel about this one? I don't want to call it safe because nothing is safe. Nick Dunlap to miss the cut, 0.75. Thirsty Lawrence to miss the cut, 0.72. And then Alex Noren at even money to miss the cut. You play those 3 together, it's 3.51, so 3.5 times your money.
Feels pretty good. And you, the Dunlap Whisperer, that was a great call the last time out where you had that one pegged and everyone was on, wasn't it? Everyone was on Homa.
Yeah.
And then he made the cut, and then it was Dunlap, you said, was by far the best value there, and he came DFL, I believe.
He did, and he was even money then. They've started to adjust him down a little bit. So that one pays 3.5 to 1. The other one that I was thinking about throwing on too, there was two other guys. Like, I just want to get your sense of them. Like, I don't want to put Tom Kim on everyone. I don't think that he makes the cut, but I don't want to be tied to an anchor of one guy that I would, let's put it this way. I'd rather have Dunlap as my anchor rather than Tom Kim, despite the fact that he's right around even money. It's a nice piece to throw on. And maybe for a super one, you can do that. But Penge and Perry were two that I was looking at too. They both play on DP, but to take a look at them, their skill set fits. I just don't think they're all that good versus like this quality of player. Like, that's the hardest thing about Eugenio as well when you take a look at him. But at least we know that he had an elite skill set and he's won on every tour that he's been on. And he doesn't have a finish outside the top 20 since last October, albeit against Asian Tour and DP World Tour fields. But that's encouraging. When you take a look at Penge and Perry, they have some good results. That's how they got into this tournament. But they also missed the cut half the time on the DP World Tour too. And now they're playing against real players.
We just had somebody in the chat ask about Penge. So
I get it. Like, Penge mashes it off the tee. I think that's kind of all he does.
Yeah. I don't like going against Chikara. I don't care. I just think talented. The fact he made the statement and moved off of everything and then said, I'm still going to go out and figure it out. I know, like you said, the talent level and what he's playing against versus here, but I just think it's still possible. So I don't really want to mess with him. I kind of like how you had it set up. And then if you're going to add more or wanting to put others in there, I'm fine with it, but I wouldn't be going against him personally.
No, I think that him to make the cut would be I bet him top 30 in this tournament already at plus 333.
Yeah.
He was the number 2 ranked amateur in the world to Ludwig. And he, instead of going to the PGA Tour, he joined Live. And I think he won his first or second Live event. And then he got into a fight with Sergio and basically got kicked off the fireballs and kicked off Live. And then he was a man without a country. So he had to go play on the Asian Tour. He won on the Asian Tour in Scotland against all of the Live guys at the end of 2023. And he just won in India on the DP World Tour and just bangs out. He has 5 top 10s in his past 7 starts. And the dude is long off the tee. And like, he might just legitimately be a really good player.
Well, yeah, I think most certainly he is. It's just about, like you said, that's why top 30 seems brazen, but I like the play. I like the call, and I would definitely like the made cut for that one.
Yeah, so we have John Perry in here as well. He's another Euro Tour player. Well, he's good. That's Perry Cohen. Perry Cohen must be Jeff's buddy. But let's see, is it John Perry? Let's see. Where am I at here? Yeah, John Perry. I don't know why I spelt it wrong. That's why. Let's see. John Perry, official world golf rankings. Yeah, he's currently number 109 in the world. He's a Brit, if anyone wants to know who this guy is. Like, he hasn't finished since he has one top 30 finish in his past 4 DP World Tour starts. Like, he's really living off a win at the end of last year against a really terrible field in South Africa and a second at the Magic Kenya Open. That's how he's in this tournament. But he has 4 missed cuts in his past 8 starts. And now he's in the PGA Championship. I'm throwing this guy on.
Yeah.
Missed the cut. Now we're up to 5.5 to 1. And we can start playing around with it later, but I want to make an official one for this show. And Penge, maybe he has too much of a skill set to throw on. I don't mind throwing him on this. The other guys that I was looking at, and Noren just hasn't played enough, and he looked terrible in his first time out. And it's not like this course suits him at all anyway. Here are some of the other guys that I was thinking about. Adam Scott and Bez to miss the cut.
Man, I don't like going against Adam Scott.
Adam Scott has sneaky been awful this year.
He has, but it's always the way it goes till it doesn't. I don't know. He was pretty good at this course the last couple times he played it, and he was okay last week. He was 34th or something. So
yeah, I mean, as I pointed out to when Matt and Cam were talking about how much they like Max Homa, it's like, oh, he's starting to play well. It's like, yeah, when he started missing cuts, when he started making cuts, when he started playing in events that had no cut.
Yes, that's true. I don't know. I'd probably be more on the Bez side of things, to be honest, but.
Like, Scott has, so just to take a look at Adam Scott for a second, you could talk about he's played well here before. I mean, he had made 15 straight cuts at the Masters. I bought into that. What did he do? Missed cut at the Masters. 34th at the Truist, 49th at the Heritage, missed cut at the Masters, 57th at Valspar, missed the cut at the Players, 36 at Bay Hill, 37 at the Genesis, losing strokes on approach and off the tee most of the time anyway. He's just not been good.
Yeah, he's better than that, though, I think. We'll see.
I think long-term skill-based, but he just doesn't have it right now.
When's the last time? Let me see. he going to miss 2 major cuts in a row? It's never.
Bez has missed 3. The last 3 times he has played in events with the cut, he has missed the cut. He was 42nd at the Truist last week and 42nd at the Heritage in fields of 68 guys.
Every major Adam Scott plays in, right? And the last time he missed 2 major cuts in a row was 2009.
It's a lot.
That's crazy.
So if you use your free pick with code Mayo, you can throw that on. Let's see. Adam Scott to miss the cut is actually, it gives you it really increases your odds, but we'll throw him off. Let's make the official one for the show today. It's going to be a 5-banger, all to miss the cut. Dunlap, Thirsty Lawrence, Noren, John Perry, and Christian Bezadenhout. We'll go 200 on that to win $1,800. Pays 9.4 to 1. Oh, I've already hit my limit on $500 on Alex Noren. Great. $100 pays $9.39. There we go. That one works. Now I'm capped out on what that can pay. I'll throw that into the chat in a second. That will be the official 5-banger on Underdog. Code Mayo at Underdog. If you've ever wanted to get into the make the cut, miss the cut game, I'll probably throw even more into the. I'll do some more on the live show tonight. I love making these so much. You don't have to go $100 on all of them, but I think it's a fun way to do this. And it's funny because I like a lot of guys to make the cut this week, just because a high percentage of guys make the cut. But I think that you can pinpoint certain players that are just in terrible form. Maybe they come back to screw you. Maybe that you want to play the flex play instead, where the flex play on this one is what? Yeah, it's 4.69 to 1 if all 5 of them hit, and you still get 1.6 to 1 if 4 or 5 hit. If you want to play more of a round robin play on that, but you can even throw the free pick onto this as well and get it up to like 16 to 1, something like that. Whether it be, you probably want to get like $25 down on it, but maybe that's all you want to get down by using code Mayo and getting your deposit bonus of up to $1,000. Your questions are coming up soon, but first, after the break, Tambo and I are going to be talking about how to build your DraftKings lineups for the Millionaire Maker. Stay tuned. Have you been looking for a natural way to relieve aches? I know that I am on the golf course. The CBDs from Cornbread Hemp are formulated to work with your body and not against it. Cornbread Hemp CBD gummies are to help you feel better, whether it's stress, discomfort, or you just need a little relaxation. They only use the best part of the hemp plant, the flower, for the purest and most potent CBD. All products are third-party licensed and USDA organic to ensure safety and purity. Pat Mayo experience save 30% on the order. Just head to cornbreadhemp.com/PatMayo and use code PatMayo at checkout. That's cornbreadhemp.com/PatMayo. Use code PatMayo. There's only one thing I'm really looking for. Well, 2 things with underwear. I need comfort, to properly junk up in my pants. I want it to be boxy. I don't want it to be, when you look at me, I don't want to look like I have fat rolls at the top, by the way, but bunchy boxers will do that to you. Comfort, I need fit, and I need to be very comfortable. That's where Skims was making underwear for men. I had to admit, it's pretty all in on Skims. When the Skims package arrived at my door, my wife was like, no. Sorry, babe. Those are for me. And fantastic. So comfortable. Wear them almost every single day. Some more because I don't have a full commentary like every 2 days. So, I'm not someone who's going to double up on underwear. I'm not, should you be, but if you get some Skims, you can get as many, fill out your entire wardrobe, and live in the comfort zone. That's where you want to provide for you. Shop Skims Men at all Skims stores. Let them know that I sent you. After you place in the survey and select the Pat Mayo experience in the draft follows. Skims is the official underwear partner of the NBA. Tambo, did you hear that ad?
The week that thing was chopped and screwed, buddy.
I don't know what was going on with that. The computer ate up both of the ads. So, amazing stuff. One of the cuts was just, I'm a psychopath.
Yeah, that's all I could hear. Yep.
Yeah, that's not great. They're probably not going to enjoy that one. Let's see here. Let's see if I can pull this back up and try to do it. Skims is where you want to be. Code PatMayo at Skims. We made the all Skims lineup as well a few weeks ago. That I've been wearing them playing golf, and I've been wearing them underneath Tambo, you've seen me dress. I like to wear some tighter pants, and having like those really skin tight Skims makes it actually a bit more comfortable than like having stuff bunch up underneath of it. So code Pat Mayo at Skims. You tell them I sent you when you drop down in the menu of the podcast feed, and Cornbread Hemp, code Pat Mayo as well. Get you some CBD. Are you a CBD guy?
I'm not, but it felt like I was an acid guy watching those ads. So I don't know. Like that was a tough scene. The CBD gummies though, shout out to those. Sounded good.
Well, there we go. So yeah, that's a tough scene. The audio podcast listeners are going to have no clue what we're talking about. The video people, well, that's where we're at. But just hit the description and check out our sponsors if you want everything on that front. Let's talk some DraftKings. We'll get into it. What do you think the most common lineup start is going to be? Rory Bryson or Rory Thomas, Bryson Thomas? Which one of those ones?
Oh man, we got to build bottom up, right? So we got to put like Keith Mitchell and Mac Hughes and then see.
You really think Mac Hughes is going to be that high up?
Not overall, but in like, again, that's what people confuse this both ways so badly. Not you, just in general. So people know it's like, we're not saying he's the chalk. Like nobody in the 5K range is going to be overblown until you get to the higher stakes, smaller field. It's just what makes it work. Somebody is going to be more owned than not. And I think when you see sort of how this plays out, you'll be able to see pretty quickly why, people will go to something like this lineup. And then people want to debate like, oh, Mac Hughes only ended up coming in 5%. I said that. I get it. I'm explaining the roster construction. So if we start bottom up and you can put Corey Connors.
I was going to say Novak probably goes into this as well.
I don't know.
I think people like Novak this week.
JT. How much is he?
You can go, he's 66. You can go Bryson, Thomas, Rahm with those three.
Yeah, so something like that is fine.
Yeah, something of this ilk. It'll be hard to get up to Rory, I think, from this. It might actually be impossible.
Yeah, anything is possible this week. I don't know if Novak will actually be that popular, but I think.
Okay, well, let's say it's not Novak. Who is another lower price guy?
Trying to see here. Who did we say? Keith Mitchell,
Bud Colley, Woodland.
I think. Novak could be one of them. Nope, Novak could be one. I'm just trying to see. Like, it doesn't seem like many want to go into the 7s, but Connors was really the only guy in the 8s that stood out. So I was seeing what that looked like. But maybe let's try and build the Bryson Rory version. If you leave Novak and go Bryson and Rory, it leaves you 7,900, which is like Berger. And
who people like. So that's starting to fall into place a little bit more, I think.
That one makes sense. It's going to be Bryson Rory more than JT, and it gets you stars and scrubs, and it still gets you, people feel comfortable because a couple guys in the 6s is the same as having like 2 7K guys. Novak and Mitchell, the way they've been playing, Berger, Bryson, Rory. If Mac Hughes does anything, we win all the money, right? That's the build. So I think that's kind of a good angle to approach it from. And then you can obviously finagle it and adjust it a ton of different ways, but I think that makes sense.
Here's the first lineup that I built. I went Rory, Bryson, Burmeister, Jaeger, Rasmus Højgaard, and Gene Mean Shakara.
All right, let me get this one up just so I can compare. Burmeister, Jaeger. You got Mr. Rasmus. Not Nikolai.
It leaves 500 on the table because I couldn't figure out who I liked more than Burmeister from those low 7s. I couldn't figure out where to upgrade the lineup, weirdly enough.
Burmeister, I don't know. You can go to whoever you like there. Davis Thompson, Finau.
Yeah, I like Burmeister better.
Okay.
So I'm just using him. The only move I could have made was taking Rasmus up to like Cam Young, and I was like, I'm good with that.
Yeah, that's the Cam Young and Homa conversation all over again, but Cam Young is back, right?
Sure. We talked about him last week and used him last week when he was $6,200.
Mm-hmm. 7,100 now. He got the price bump.
Yeah, he's like the one guy going up on the charts.
Yeah, so I guess that build is still a Rory Bryson build. So we're going to see a lot of those. That's what we know right now. That's a popular start. If you are going to go a little bit more balanced, it's going to be bringing one of them down to JT. We know that. And then after that, it's kind of like, what about Scotty? Yeah, he'll get like 18 to 20% probably. You'll get other guys that get a little bit of ownership in there, but that's sort of the main point. There is a ton. If you were talking like your pocket portion, if you will, where you go into these pockets and say like nobody's on these guys, we already mentioned Ludwig, but I think there's just a lot of them. When you go to the 9K range, it's like Hovland, Koepka, Neiman. Does Cantlay, Matsuyama, Speed, like who even gets the ownership there? I feel like more people will play Fleetwood than some of the other guys. Like people just like playing Fleetwood for whatever reason. So there's a lot of guys that aren't being played, and the 9K range looks quite overlooked.
So in the 9, so basically the way that I have it breaking down, you have the big 3. I think it goes Rory, Bryson, Scotty at the top. And I think that I don't know if Thomas will end up challenging them in terms of overall ownership, but I could see him being 22%, Scotty 24, Bryson 30, Rory 35, something like that. And if that's the case, as you've pointed out before, that just means no one can actually play these other guys. So Ludwig is going to be like single digits. Xander might crack double digits, 12%, maybe. And then you're into Rahm single digits, Victor right around 10%, Brooks single digits, Neiman single digits. I think Cantlay will be the choice. I think you hit on it. Cantlay and Fleetwood will be the 2 guys to get to double digits. Then you're dealing with Spieth, Hideki, Lowry, Hatton, Henley, like mid single digits to high single digits. Then you're into Day, Zalatoris, Minwoo, Cam Smith, Wyndham Clark, Sungjae, who are going to be like 5% or lower.
For sure. I think like, down low, it's going to be probably the Connors, Berger, Keegan Bradleys of the world that look like they'll get a little bit of love, but
I think Straka will get love too at 8.
Yeah. Sorry. And Straka as well. Yeah. Straka. And even up in the 9Ks, now that you mentioned Straka, must be in Shane Lowry's nightmares. But speaking of Shane Lowry, he was the other guy I was going to say. By the way, last week, the Honda Open, we got
just all the Honda guys.
We had all those guys up there. So yeah, I think Shane Lowry could get a little bit of love, and it's all just recent form stuff, right? That's bleeding into it, which is fine. That makes sense going into a major. I'm just saying it's also leaving a ton of these guys left alone where, man, in these large field tournaments, it's just, to me, it's so much more worth it to take on some of this risk in these ranges and play some different builds.
So I just adjusted the first lineup that I gave you, the one with Rory in it. And I took Rory and Nikolai out in a 2v2, turns into Wyndham Clark and Ludwig instead. So it's Bryson, Ludwig, Wyndham Clark, Burmeister, Jaeger, Eugenio.
Yeah. So a couple things there. I mean, obviously, one note for certain is you and I talked pre-show, and I think it's a great point, and it goes to what I always say: it's not who you play, it's how you play them. Everyone will say, "Oh, Bryson Chalk got there again," but are people playing it with Ludwig and Wyndham Clark amongst others? That's the first point. They aren't. Second of all, you are still sticking, and I know we do this a ton on the show, from football season with Darius Slayton to right now with golfers, but you are keeping your guys in there. And by your guys, I mean if you're on Burmeister, if you're on Chikara, if you like these guys for these top 30s and each way places, I like that you're putting them in there, because 20th or 25th or 31st in the case of Chikara is not going to win your bet for you, but those are going to play really well at $5,800 price tags and $6,900 price tag on Burmeister. So you're still sticking to your guys while eating the chalk on just Bryson. I definitely like that thought process that you've got there for that lineup.
So to bring it up, of the guys right now, unless you want to talk me into other ones, the guys that I have highlighted on Fantasy National, fantasynational.com/Mayo. If you do it today at Fantasy National, you get that 20% off. You get the monthly that brings you through the US Open. So you get the Canadian Open, a signature event, Colonial this week, and US Open. 5 tournaments, 5 big money tournaments for that one monthly cost of, I think it's $30, $20, something like that. But you'll get 20% off if you use fantasynational.com/Mayo. The guys in the 5s that I have highlighted right now, it's funny, Mac Hughes is one of them. Eugenio, and no, let me reload this. Maybe I have more guys down there now. I added a few.
It's just all the guys you starred, Pat. That's all.
Yeah, just all the guys that I ended up in my favorite list. Yeah, I did add a few guys. Let's see. Show favorites only. Yeah, so Mac Hughes at 56, Eugenio at 58, Kevin Yu at 58. Those are my 3 5K guys right now. And then the low 6s, I got Kitayama, Jaeger, Rasmus, and then Burmeister at $6,900. I was thinking about adding JJ Spawn into that mix as well, who just, he's been kind of out of sight, out of mind, but it's not like he's been bad by any means.
Yep. I like Spawn and Jaeger. They're kind of like Joe Highsmith and Jacob Bridgman.
Bridgman ended up going on a heater on the weekend.
Yeah, I saw that too. After I think Highsmith had the better start when we made fun of that too last week. So yeah, but I like Spawn for sure. 6,400. Think he's fine.
So that's sort of like the level of guy that I'm looking at, just to kind of scroll through. I think Knapp makes some sense. The model, at least short term, is going to like Bud Colley. I don't want, like, if I think Keith Mitchell is going to be the most popular of these guys, and that's just good enough for me not to play him. I'll bet him first round leader and be happy with that.
And that's what I was talking about too a little bit earlier with like when I'm building in some of these sets and stuff. What I meant by that was like situational items where I just may leave out some of these chalk plays. Again, you can lean into the chalk. It's not who you play, it's how you play them, et cetera, et cetera. But in some spots at a tournament like this, on top of the fact the ownership sort of congregating so heavily in certain areas that to me, it just makes sense to be different. And even if you, as long as you get some of it right, the others may still have guys around them that outscore them or do just as well, but you have completely different guys in the other spots that are required and needed. So I'm fine with building some sets along those lines.
By my numbers, the best guys that I haven't mentioned from the 5Ks, Nicholas Norgard Moeller, one of Cuss picks this week, is at $5,400. Wacky Valimaki is at $5,500. And let's see, Eric Cole is at $5,700. There was one other one as well. Let's see, EVR is at $5,700 as well. Just all short-term stuff. Of those guys, is there any one that you prefer?
EVR got crushed. That scorecard he put up to lose to Scotty by 8 was insane. Like every round in the 60s, super low rounds mixed in. I can't believe that he still lost by that many strokes. But do you want Norgard Moeller or do you want Neargard Peterson?
I think Norgard, I don't know, but Norgard Moeller is one of the biggest hitters in this field. And Neargard Peterson is not.
All right. That was a good answer. I don't know, but I'll take this. I think the EVR spot is interesting for sure. He's 5,700. We just talked about, I was just sort of making fun of that fact, but not really making fun, more complimenting, but also how frustrating it might be. And he's sort of in that same price range as a lot of the guys that people will think about or talk about, right? We've already talked about Chikara. I saw some Taylor Morelove. There's Michael Kim, Hoagie, like there's this guy, Kevin Yu, for sure at 5,800 people go to. Like there's options there that people will land on. So maybe EVR is an option at 5,700.
I got to ask, because I see this Taylor Morelove every single week. I don't get it.
Yeah, me neither. What was it? There was another week he was in the 7Ks and everybody loved him and it was just like a lock, but I don't think he came through. Was that the Byron Nelson? Or the
it was. He missed the cut at the Byron Nelson.
Yeah, nice 74-71. The Myrtle Beach, he got 25th, if that matters to you.
Sick.
What about Sam Stevens? That guy worked out. Didn't he work out last week? We were he was the only guy in our PMAM that landed in that range. We're like, well, I guess we have to play him by default. And I think he finished top 20 or something, or 25th.
Yeah, I had Pearson Cootie in my lineup and just was totally spaced and didn't realize he WD'd.
There you go. What are we thinking now? What do you want to build?
Do we want to do Scotty or do we want to do, let's say we pick one of these guys. Let's say it's Bryson because Bryson is cheaper than Rory. Is there any merit in a Bryson and then into the 9s? Not necessarily Thomas, but we'll go Bryson, Hideki, Minwoo, something like that. Is there any value in a lineup that looks like that, or should we just not think about it?
There's certainly value. We had this at a different event this year, and I forget what it was, Pat, but just the sense of remembering that, people say, the common sentiment is always this. I don't need the guys in the 7s because the guys in the 6s to me are the exact same. And while that is true and probably correct, to be honest, that's the difference, though, is that if you do end up needing the guys in the 7s, you want some lineups that contain that. With this one leaving 6,800 left, obviously you can just go down and pick your favorite. Again, I'm going to use what the chalk would do, but go to Mitchell, you land in the 7s, then people are going to go to another low guy and another high guy and think they're being different by skipping the 7s. But in reality, this week, when you look at ownership, and you probably got it there, outside of Berger and maybe Bradley, playing guys in the 7s is what's actually unique. So I'll talk about that more in a second, but what's your thoughts on that real quick? Do you see anybody outside of Berger and potentially Bradley that even looks popular at all in the 7s?
I don't even see anyone over 5% beyond those guys.
And is there anyone in there that, you made a case earlier a little bit, at least for Sam Burns. Is there anybody in the world of the Benny Ann's, who you kind of mentioned quickly, Bobby Mack, any of these guys that stand out to you at all in the 7Ks? Because I got a thought right quick here.
I think Burns, Thompson, and Finau make the most sense.
So,
I like Akshay as well, but that's just more me.
Okay, let me do this then. We'll fill out this lineup you got. Where are you landing at the end of this one, just so we have it? Burn.
I got 5,500 down here. That's Nicholas Norgard Moeller if we want to play him, or Wacky Valimaki. Pick your poison.
Let's use your guy Norgard, who we made fun of a little bit and then brought up. But
There. So it's Bryson, Hideki, Minwoo, Norgard, Moeller, Thompson, and Burns.
how much is Norgard Moeller?
5,400.
There we go. Yep, got him. So let's do that. My takeaway was going to be, so this is just combining thoughts and DFS playing it a lot and experience, I think, is just nobody wants to play these 7K guys. I think we start our lineup. So take out everyone except Thompson and Burns for a second. I want to see something. Burns, Thompson. Who I'm
Would
fine
be
with.
Keith Mitchell and Corey Connors. Or Keith Mitchell and Russell
No.
Henley.
I'm saying no. That's exactly this is what I know. I want to keep only 7K guys. So one of the things I'll bring up at the final point, and then we'll get to it, is when you build with Scotty as a way to get different, often weeks, is you have to get out of the 7K range, right? Or you have to play guys in the 7K range that are completely low owned. We can test this with Scotty, Rory, Bryson, whoever we want. But this week, you are naturally getting the guys in the 7Ks at no ownership whatsoever. And everyone thinks they're, they can tell you why. That's fine. But it's because the guys in the 6s look just as good, if not better. But it doesn't mean that's how it's actually going to play out. And if you need guys in the 7K ranges, most of the lineups this week that are being built won't have anybody in the 7K range, if not maybe one guy.
Okay, so how do we finagle this lineup then?
Well, you said you had Burns and Thompson in already.
Yeah.
You said you like Akshay, right?
Yeah.
So we put him in. And now we need to come up with a couple. You mentioned Finau.
Yeah.
And then who would one more be? Berger,
Bobby Mack.
Let's see.
Sergio at 7K.
Wow, you don't even need to close it out with this now. So, you can just get you could go if you go Rory, you actually still have 8,100 left for Patrick Reed. If you go Scotty, you just pick a $6,900 guy like Burmeister. There's an example. So this projects just as good or better than most of the lineups we've built already because the Scotty projection is solid still. But you get Finau, Akshay, Davis Thompson, Burns, and you leave a $6,900 guy in there with Burmeister, but it's just an example.
Yeah, or you can go Rory, Wyndham Clark, Sergio, Akshay, Davis Thompson, Burns.
So if I take him out, you had Rory in there.
Rory and Wyndham.
Yeah, and Sergio's at 7K flat.
And then I like the lineup. I mean, I like Bryson, so I'd go with Bryson. And it's Bryson and then 92. So it could be Bryson Fleetwood or Bryson Lowry, Bryson Hatton, if that's the way that you wanted to go. With those same two, like a 2v2.
Yeah, you can go Lowry there or Fleetwood.
Mm-hmm. I wonder, let's see, what if I went Ludwig? Now I'm taking myself at a win equity, but yeah, you can go, I was trying to see if I could do it. You can go Ludwig, Justin Thomas for that same price too.
Exact same price. Yeah, look at that. So yeah, I mean, again, Sergio's in there. So maybe what people think about that is up to them. But for the other guys, little bit of boom bust, but I think it's certainly a different build altogether. And that's what we're trying to look at here, right? A lot of people are going to go stars and scrubs where it includes at least two guys from the 6K or below. This has nobody in the 6K or below and still gets you Ludwig and JT at the top, which is kind of that group you talked about, Pat, with the quote unquote unrealized win equity. Mind you, JT has some of it already, but Ludwig is kind of the piece that goes in there to get you a little bit different still. So I like looking at builds like that. Is there anything where you would consider just starting in the 9s, or is it just unnecessary? Because to me, it's interesting. Like even if JT wins, you could say, okay, I can start with him, but someone's going to have JT with one of the guys above that end up doing well, even if JT wins.
I think that's what it boils down to. That you have to start thinking about how the rest of your lineup looks. That if we do think, I mean, one of the first things I came on and talked about how to bet this tournament is you're going to want to have two of these top 6 guys on your betting card. I think that almost 1v1 applies to your DraftKings lineup as well, because if one of them doesn't win, the other one comes in second or third, then you're still going to need them.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of how I see it as well. And I think that's the underlying theme of this. But I guess if you go like, JT with Ludwig, who you just had in there, you kind of land in sort of that same zone that we were already in. So it's, can you build a lineup with Ludwig, JT. You can build whatever you want. I shouldn't say it like that. And like another not like Lowry, let's say that leaves us 6,700. That would be a way to do it a little bit different. You got Xander in there now instead of
Ludwig. Well, let's say we go Xander, Justin Thomas, and then two guys low. Like not necessarily just we don't have to go towards because you said like everyone's skipping the 7K range. I agree with you. Most people are also skipping the 8K range when you start looking at it as well. So you could say something to the effect of like, I actually like Minwoo this week.
I was just going to say, I would close it out with Minwoo and Clark.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. You go Xander, Thomas, Minwoo, Clark, Eugenio, and Spawn. And Spawn and Eugenio can be whoever you like from down at the bottom. But now we're skipping that, like, I don't want to say chalk range, but the chalk lower owned Mitchell, Burmeister. Again, not guys that are going to be 25%, but common guys are going to be paired up with this sort of build. Now we're just adjusting it slightly. We're not taking 4 guys in the 7s, which is going to be unique. We're now taking 2 guys in the 8s no one is using because very few people are using guys in the 8s.
Yeah, so that one's a clean build. I just don't know. Like, to me, it's the 9K range that's tricky because, well, we know the 8Ks and 7Ks are going overlooked and completely dispersed outside of like Corey Connors in the 8K range and the couple guys we mentioned in the 7s. It's what about the...
Well, let's try this. Let's take that same lineup that we just built and get rid of
many guys in the 9Ks that nobody can play.
Well, who do you think is like the best play of that bunch?
Don't know. Like, just I'm gonna be mixing in like Lowry, Decky, Fleetwood, Spieth, Cantlay for sure.
What about Neiman?
Tough click.
What about Victor?
Same, but I get it. Like, yeah, they're pivots off of JT, but you can also play them with JT.
That's what I'm saying. That if we play one of those guys, now we're back into that 7K range where no one's going to play it anyway. You play Hovland and Finau for the same price as Minwoo and Clark.
Yeah. Hovland, Finau. So what is this one now? Let me just see. Hovland, Finau,
Thomas, Xander, Spawn, Eugenio. I'll mix this one up with Spawn. I'll turn him into someone else just so we're not... I'll turn Eugenio into Kevin Yu at the same price because I don't have him in it enough yet. I just want to have all these random lineups with exactly the same people in it. And then it's Spawn. I like Knapp there. I like Kitayama at 62. So in fact, we could actually... I like Kitayama about as much as I like JJ Spawn, that we could upgrade Tony Finau into Max Homa. Let's not do that.
You could you could play Ludwig again, or you could play whatever else. But
yeah, you could use Ludwig instead of Xander. You could go. You don't have enough for Morikawa, but you could, yeah, like you're right around that same range. I like Ludwig better. I don't know if I like Ludwig better than Xander, but I think he's going to be half the owner. Xander is going to be half the ownership of all these top guys, and then Ludwig's going to be half the ownership of that.
It's possible, but it's also possible they're just both like get nothing because it doesn't add up. Like I said, it's all still a math game. And I don't see Ludwig is for sure going to be super low owned, but I don't see how Xander and Morikawa get much ownership either, to be honest.
Sure. No, I tend to agree with you. I don't think the Morikawa is going to get much ownership at all.
Yeah. Someone in the chat said like a Xander JT Decky. Like that would definitely be interesting as well. The lineups like that still leave you almost 6,700. You can kind of do whatever you want, as we talked about. But it's going to be it's really going to be tough because all I was trying to say is it's really tough to stomach a lineup or even think that it plays well here, Pat, where it's like JT, Cantlay, Decky. Sure, you have 7,000 left, but do you even need, it's like you'd almost, what do you put in? Lowry, and you still have 6,000. Like, I guess that's how you would have to do it differently, but you're still leaving somebody out up top that is just an easy 2v2 away from getting you to the better player or whatever you would assume, right? Like if you go to, Cantlay and a 6K guy can easily just be one of the 5K guys and then get up to Justin. In this, we have Justin Thomas, but you get what I'm saying. Like, you can always just move up one.
Yeah, and I think that's where it comes in. Like, can you stomach having Xander Thomas as your top two or Ludwig Xander? I mean, that's actually a really interesting one, I think. Like, that's not inconceivable. I mean, obviously it's not inconceivable, but like if it came down to it, we're all just hyper focused on Bryson, Rory, and Scotty and Justin Thomas. That what if it's just Xander and Ludwig? Would that really surprise you?
No.
But again, you're dealing with 2 of the top 6 guys, at least. Like, I'm not including Rom or Morikawa into this conversation that we're having right now because I just don't believe in them this week. But that's on me. You can call it the top 8 if you want to and include those 2 guys. But I think that in terms of pricing, that the difference between Justin Thomas and Victor Hovland is massive.
And I think there's something else to be said is like what your point is there is it actually isn't really a pricing factor when you're talking about Rom and Morikawa. You just don't like them regardless of price. I mean, if they were 9K range, you probably still wouldn't be super excited about them. And maybe you consider them a little bit more. And people do this all too often. My takeaway is that the 9K range is big enough. And it's got outside of JT, you have Hovland, Brooks, Neiman, Cantlay, Decky, Spieth, Lowry, Fleetwood, Hatton. Those are all guys that if a couple of those guys are in the mix and you need them, there's not many builds that contain them. That's what I'm seeing here.
100%. I agree with you. So when we're going to continue to take a look at that, I'll turn Spawn back into Kitayama again. Then I had Burmeister in. Then we can get ourselves back up to 71, which is not Akshay. I thought it was Akshay. Never mind.
I think you can pick your poison at the bottom because that's going to be its own roulette wheel. But I do think there's something interesting to be said just for up top. Like if it's Lowry and Fleetwood that do enough to be in the mix, then it's a pick your poison of the guys you like. Let's say it's the Bryson chalk that you're putting in. So it's Bryson with Lowry and Fleetwood. You still have 6,700. You could still play a 5K, a 6K, and an 8K or something. You know what I mean? Like you can get away with different things depending on the price ranges that you're living in. But it's more my point of there is a potential that you need a couple of these 9K guys because there's definitely good names in there. So if you got Jaeger in, what happens if you use Spawn?
I was going to say Højgaard. If we use Spawn, we can get Akshay.
Or Davis Thompson, yeah.
Yeah, and I like both those guys.
So
I'll use Davis Thompson in this one.
And those project pretty good as well, too. So you're not giving up too much. And I just went with Jaeger and Spawn, the same dude, just use them both. But if you took out one of those guys, who was the guy down low that you liked, you said?
I think Eugenio is my favorite. Eugenio, Kevin Yu would probably be my 2 preference plays.
So let's use those 2 instead of take out Jaeger, Spawn, and Thompson. Use the 2 5K guys, and it gets you Min Woo. There you go.
I can do that. I'll lose money with that. That's fine.
Definitely lose money to that. It's your 2 guys that you're using down low and then rolling from there. I think that's how you need to think about it. There's certain ways to go. And some of the questions are starting to roll in. It's probably fine. Is Brooks the forgotten 9K guy?
Yeah. I mean, they're all the forgotten. We just kind of went over this. They're all outside of Cantlay and Fleetwood and Thomas. I think they're all the forgotten 9K guy.
That's what I'm trying to make a point about. Exactly. And again, that's where people, I don't know. Here's another thing I'll throw to you, Pat. In the 7K range, we've already had this conversation. We definitely see a ton of 6K guys that they are the 7K guys. So we get that. Do you really think the 8K guys are the 9s? I do not. I think the 9K guys are the 9K guys. And that's where you could need a couple dudes, and not many people can seemingly get to that. They're going to have JT and at least one above and none below, or they're going to have 3 guys and try and really drop down.
Yes, I completely agree with you. So I said that there was sort of a line of demarcation between Justin Thomas and Victor Hovland. I think that's all Rory, Scotty, Bryson, tier, Ludwig, Xander, Morikawa, Rom, Thomas, tier. And then you're in through Hovland I guess I have to include Henley into this, to Henley. And then it's another tier. Jason Day might be a great play. Will Zalatoris might be a great play. There's no way I'm playing those guys at that price.
Right. And that's why I'm saying I don't feel like it's not like I'm feeling like I'm getting 9K guys in the 8K range. I feel like I'm getting 8K guys for maybe the correct price or maybe even bad pricing versus the other. But, the chat talks about this too. And I think it is interesting. Kenny, they said Kenny talked about it where Hideki actually wins. That's where you got to think about if you're building a lineup of guys that can win.
Yes.
Anyone can win, I'm saying, but who actually wins that we've, seen it get the job done. That's where you got to make your pick and play well in majors. And you could see pop up here. And that's where I think the Brooks Bryson one you've got up there now, Brooks Bryson Decky. There you go. Still leaves you 6,400.
Kitayama 7,400, which is Finau, Akshay, or Davis Thompson, something like that.
Yeah. Any of that. They're not projecting as well because guys like Bryson and them won't, but in general, or sorry, guys like Brooks won't, but that's also going to be hard to get right. That's like the unrealized win equity, like you talked about, versus just playing a guy because you're playing him. So, I'm fine with that as well. So what do you think? Akshay?
Yeah, Akshay or Davis Thompson, whichever one you want.
Yeah. So those both fit in. Some of the questions lead to some of the builds anyway. Like, I don't know if you see some.
I haven't looked. I have not. If people want to start loading in the chat right now, I mean, I'll go back and scroll through the questions. And let's go over to that because I think that we've sussed out how we want to build. We haven't necessarily given you the optimal advice on who to bet, but like you said, it's not who you pick. It's how you play these guys, and I think that we've laid out a blueprint of how you want to play your lineups with two different options, be it super stud, super dud, or this sort of lineup that's a similar idea. I think the key takeaways to this, as you've kind of pointed out, is that the 7Ks are just going completely overlooked. If one of or two of those guys get into the mix and you have now used it, your path to the top is so much easier than everyone else's.
Yeah. If the 8K range comes through, it's got like Henley, Day, Minwoo, Wyndham, Corey Connors, my guy Sung Jae. Like I'm definitely going to be messing around with it. I'm just saying it at least feels more accurate, and the 9Ks feel accurate. It's the 6s that feel more like 7s that changes this slate up quite a bit.
All right, so the question and answer period has started on the Pat Mayo Experience. I'm going to be doing another one this evening, just pure questions, 8 p.m. Eastern, live on Mayo Media Network. So please, after the show is over, if you do have more questions, you can just go throw it into the live chat up there, and I will get to it immediately off the top. Then you can just check. You don't even have to be there live at that point, but you do need to be a sub to Mayo Media Network in order to ask a question. Smash the like while you're here as well. Woodland at $5,800. I am out on Woodland, but I do think that he will be one of the most popular 5K guys.
Yeah, he'll make the pool, but I'm starting to think that like other guys will get popular down there because you mentioned a couple of them that stood out to me, and it's like just the thing that people need to remember is nobody's going to be popular. So like again, Mac Hughes might get to like 7% or something. Now in higher stakes, I think more people will feel that's an optimal play to be able to go there and make everything else work. But in these large field lotteries and stuff like that, it's just a matter of how you view 7% versus 1%. But again, remember, it's not who you play, it's how you play. And with Mackenzie Hughes, people think I just say that. The point is with Mackenzie Hughes, you could have him in lineups with no Rory and Bryson. And now all your Mac Hughes lineups are much different because most people with Mac Hughes are going to have at least one of Rory and or Bryson. So in that scenario, I think that's what you got to think about when you're playing somebody like Mac Hughes in that range.
I just threw into the chat the underdog play that we had from earlier. I finally got to that. So if you want to tail along with me, go complete. If you go complete fade on that one, it probably pays like 3,000 to 1 or something like that. But that's where I'm looking at the moment. Let's see where are we at here. JJ Spawn. I think we went over JJ Spawn. Go Cullet says, Darius, break the Slayton. What a week that was. That was a great week. That was like the only good week I had, at least, in the NFL this year.
That was a huge week. We had him in, I think when I finished the show and we build lineups on the show, I think we had like 30 lineups and he was in 29 of them. And so, yeah, we were like, we know what's going to happen here. We're fully committed to this guy. We had him in all those lineups. And then, yeah, he ended up having a huge week. And a lot of people were on, who's the guy that always just catches it? Wandale. Your boy, Wanderlei Robinson.
Dave asked, need 4 guys for a one and done. Have Bryson and Xander need 2 more help. It would be fucking more helpful if you tell us who you had and didn't have. Scotty and Rory. There you go. Easy game. Moving on. There is a nice 5.3K pick. Thanks. That's a great fucking comment. Thank you for your help.
Who are we talking about in that range?
Service, Al. Fucking idiot.
Maybe it's your boy Thirsty.
Sure. Great. It's fantastic. Play him. Go for it. Play Luke Donald, Patty Harrington, and Thirsty Lawrence. There you go. There's your 5-point fucking idiotic comment. Timothy asked a better question, and we kind of went over this. I think we did just build this. Xander, JT, Hideki core.
Yeah. It kind of fits with what we talked about earlier. Like there's guys that win. Right. We had this conversation around, so just an example though, Pat, I did do some digging while you were talking. So Xander or Ludwig. Both are almost the same price. JT, Hideki, fine. Pick your poison. Could be Cantlay. But any of those groupings, if you play those three, it's the same price, basically, to play Scotty, Corey Connors, and Sung J M. But you have a completely different build. You have no 9s, no 10s, no 11s, no 12s. You have Scotty at the max price, and you have the two of the better 8K guys, in my opinion, versus playing this 10-9-9 game that it seems a lot are going to.
Which one do you prefer?
I think the more I look at it, I lean the Scotty one, just because I think the 8K range is going to go untouched. I don't love the 8K range, but if I was picking guys in there, it would be my guy Corey Connors, or my guy Sung J M, and my Canadian brethren Corey Connors. So I'd be fine with that.
I like this one from Joe. Would you build a different lineup for higher stakes?
Yes, I think that I made this point yesterday. I would definitely build different lineup for every tournament that I'm playing. And what I mean by that is I'm talking about lineup selection. I made the point yesterday, and I'll make it to you, and maybe you have thoughts on it. But there's a huge difference between contest selection, which is also very important in DFS, and lineup selection. And then to take it a step further, Hoop and I talked about this yesterday. People, well, I only play single entries. That is great contest selection, but you build a $12 single entry with 5,000 people in it, much different than you build a $100 single entry with 300 people in it. Your lineup selection should be different, even though you're selecting single entry tournaments. Do you have any thoughts on that? Because you play some of the qualifiers, you play all kinds of different tournaments, Pat, and that's definitely a true factor. Single entry is single entry, but some have a lot more entries than others.
You know what? You want to know what I do, Tambo? Do you really want to know?
Click buttons.
I use Fantasy National. I generate like 50, 75 lineups, whatever, enter it in the 5 or the mini max or whatever. I just like building lineups, like my favorite thing to do. But then when I start entering like the big 200 or the 250 or the 150 or one of the qualifiers, I close my eyes and scroll right and stop it and pick a lineup. And that has worked wonders for me.
Even when you're leaving $5,000 on the table, as we've seen this year, one of your bigger weeks in Showdown and everything that goes with it. So yes, I definitely appreciate that. I think it's just something, like you said, your passion, building the lineups. Mine is sort of dissecting them, review, application, all the stuff that I cover over at Ship It Nation and with the Mastermind Project. So I think that's kind of a little plug there, but it's definitely something that those that are working on it, these are the types of things that we're digging into. And I think that's just a really interesting concept from a DFS perspective versus most just want to click buttons and then wonder why they lost another week or something like that, and not really digging in.
That's why I recommend DFS Mastermind and not closing your eyes, scrolling a wheel, and pressing stop.
Yes, I appreciate you. Code man.
But you have to remember, I'm a blessed person. I am like the world's luckiest person. I do this for a living. I just assume things are going to work out my way. So leave it to chance. Chance tends to fall on my side.
And I've won. About that.
I've won 6 GPPs this year. It's worked out.
The old he's a cheater guy now, but Gary played the harder you work, the luckier you get, Pat. That's the one.
There we are. This is the one that you brought up. Justin asks, is Brooks the forgotten 9K guy? I kind of mentioned that all of the 9Ks are kind of forgotten. I actually weirdly think, I don't know if I could go out on a limb and like really say this for fact. I think Scotty's going to come in way under-owned.
It's very possible. Like right now, I know people are just targeting him 17 to 20, and you kind of said it. Maybe he still gets to 20. I kind of said 18 to 20 earlier. There's definitely a world where he comes in the 15% range just because it just gets Rory Bryson. Enough people want to take a stand on the or he could of Ludwig Oberg. And then you've got some love to Schauffele, Morikawa, Rahm, JT big time, like all that stuff. So you never know, but it is possible for sure.
For big GPPs, are balanced builds possible, or is there too much win equity with Bryson, Rory, and Scotty? Again, I feel like I've been over this. I really do want to have 2 of those top 6 guys in my mind.
Man, I like that, but
unless we do that sort of build that we just talked about, where you're not necessarily using Scotty, Rory, or Bryson, you kick it off with a Xander or Ludwig, drop to Thomas, and then like one or it's Rory, Hatton, Hideki, like one of those sorts of builds. Sorry. I feel like you cobble enough together.
Yeah, now I got it. Leave this up for a second because I got lost. I'm always a guy that looks ahead, and somebody said you must have closed your eyes when picking out that shirt, assuming they're talking to you, and I was waiting for the band hammer to hop in.
But... Oh, no. Well, that's right. We can go back to me. I mean, this shirt is fucking excellent. The greatest thing about this shirt is I can do you got the pecs in order. I can make a move, and they look fantastic in this one. I mean, that's a move. I know that people watching this show don't have that on the go. But I mean, I'm married now, so it doesn't really work out as much in my favor. My wife's over like being like, oh, wow, let's go. But at the bar, like that was the move. Shirt like this makes you stand out, get the pec flares on the go. And people are like, I wonder what's underneath that shirt. Boom.
Yeah.
You're
People didn't
off
know
to the
about
races.
people don't know about Peck Mayo over there. Check him out. So love to see that. As far as that question goes, it's kind of what we talked about a little bit earlier, and I think that's funny because that is going to be a common sentiment here, saying balanced build. That there you can go stars and scrubs without Bryson and Rory and Scotty. So everyone just assumes that they have to be in a stars and scrubs. You can go Ludwig, Rom, JT, and still have 6,400. Once you put a guy like you and Spawn in there, I mean, you're just as stars and scrubs. You're going with what you called, and I'm going to keep using it, the quote unquote unrealized win equity, in the sense of what you mean is just obviously those guys could win. It wouldn't shock you if one of Ludwig or JT won. Maybe Rom would shock people, but it's certainly possible. It shouldn't, but I'm just saying like where that's the case. So I think that is the interesting tidbit there, is you're not actually going balanced just because you're not playing those three guys.
Next question again comes from Justin. Are guys like Ricky Fowler in consideration who have decent course history, or is it totally different because it's a major layout? I think it's more different because Ricky's just not the same player he used to be.
He was awesome last week, Pat. Come on.
What did he finish?
I don't know how it actually ended up, but it started strong. What did he finish? Like 17th or something?
Did he even finish that high?
Maybe not. I'm going to find him.
Let's see. Ricky is how
15th,
much?
15th.
Oh, good for him. What a finish.
Yeah, but it does go back to what we said at the top, though, about I think this is way more a course setup thing than it is a major championship thing. And it's just because we have so much on this course and there's only so much that you can do. A lot of guys have a ton of history here, too. So they've just seen it enough that I think there's ways that you could see somebody. I do think that plays a little bit into it, outside of the obvious that Rory's phenomenal and has crushed this course, phenomenal right now and has crushed this course. Bryson's phenomenal right now and sets up for the course, and then Scotty crushing it at number one all the time. But my point is, this is the factor, Pat, that eats into some of that win equity, because on paper the win equity is just there because the odds and et cetera, et cetera. But in the sense of, could those other guys win? Very easily they could win. Right? They've either done it before here, or they've been really close, or whatever it might be. You can definitely see the win come from outside of that top three, no problem.
Yeah. On the Ricky factor, just remember, he won here 13 years ago.
Yeah, I'm not putting Ricky in this bucket, man. This is I went on a tangent off that. I thought we'd move past Ricky after we realized he came 15th last week. But yeah, Ricky will have a good, maybe he's the first round leader, Pat. Maybe you put him and see if he comes out hot and then disappears again.
Last three visits to Quail Hollow, 43rd, 14th miscut.
Hopefully he's the 14th for those that are playing him.
Thorbjornsen, Sean asks. I tried Thorbjornsen last week. He has the right skill set. He's just been bad against good fields. He's good against there's certain guys like this. I mean, Kevin Yu is kind of the same way as well, but I just have a bit more faith just because of what his particular set of skills is, especially with his iron play. But Thorbjornsen just goes out and dummies people at easy courses.
Yeah, Liam Neeson, particular set of skills over there that's taken. But I'm fine. I think if you move off that and you played him last week, I got no problem going to him. He's just going to be another punt down there that's different from the rest that others are on. But you got to know what you're getting into. There's certainly a huge boom bust that can play well in tournaments with very top heavy prizes, though. So it's fine.
Single 3 max. What do you think the more popular build is going to be? I honestly think that Rory Bryson, Rory JT, Bryson JT. It's one of those three. Those will be the three most common builds at the top.
100% that starting point, and then just plug in your other guys, whether it's Fleetwood, Connors, Berger, Bradley, Mitchell, Hughes, Spawn, like whoever you think is the chalk guys, whatever version of those go together into a lineup. That's definitely what you're going to see.
Oh, Tambo and Hoop mentioned this on their show. Shout out to the Ship It Nation YouTube channel. You'll be overexposed to Scotty. You're going to be showing your dick to Scotty at the course. Maybe he'll get arrested again for beating you up. Who knows? Would you be willing to fade Bryson and Rory? Now, I'm of the mind that I would play Bryson and Rory and fade Scotty. That's where I'm at. And I think most people would agree with me. But I see where you're coming from with your angle, especially if you think that Scotty gets underowned.
Yeah, I'm on the other end of it because you can play Scotty so easily, yet people aren't going to because of the other factors. And like I said, and it'll be a set that I build where I just take these guys out. And it's like, even if, people always say, oh, but some of the chalk's going to get there. It is. You're right. It almost always does. But it doesn't mean somebody doesn't get there. Like, what if the chalk that gets there isn't Rory and Bryson, and it's one of those guys down low, but it doesn't necessarily crush somebody else around them? So in my example, let's say the Keith Mitchell chalk gets there, but it's not, it ends up being like Ludwig and Morikawa that you need. Well, first of all, not many people even have him with those guys. And if I've got someone around Keith Mitchell that still scores well, but I've got more Ludwig and Morikawa, I've actually got better. I'm there. I'm maybe a few points behind you. You're like, well, but my Mitchell call was right. Yeah, who gives a shit? It all has to be right. So I don't care. And that's where that would come in. So I'm interested in that, especially the more we talked about it, Pat, based on the facts of, the thoughts, sorry, not the fact yet, but the thought that we had that Scotty could actually come in even a little lower owned than we suspect. It's tough to say right now, but I could see it for sure.
I clicked on this guy's channel who said he didn't like my shirt. Jesus fucking Christ, man. Like, get your life together. This picture that I'm looking at of him.
Oh, you should be able to bring it up on the screen.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do that to him. People can go search that themselves. I mean, you're wearing a hat, so bald, glasses, and 3 times the face that I have. Good, looking good over there, pal.
He got you. He got the shirt joke, and you let it slide, but you had to get him back. I love it. That's very good, Pat. Very good.
If there is one thing that I am, Tambo, as you know, petty. That's what I am.
Petty Mayo.
Let's see. Not sure you talked about it before, but in big GPP, can you start with Scotty and Bryson? Yeah, we did that one to begin with. Tim P. Patrick Reed. We actually didn't mention Patrick Reed all that much. I don't mind Patrick Reed this week.
He's another one that would be fine in that. And I think Tim was trying to compare him as well, was the guys around him. I think that bottom range is certainly where I'd want to live if you're going in the 8K range. I like Connors, Im, and Reed more than I like Jason Day, Will Zalatoris, and Henley up at the top.
I do as well. I am seeing a bit more love for Reed there. I think that Berger, Reed, I think it's going to be Connors and Berger from that like little mini tier, then Reed, then Straka, and then the other guys just simply will not be owned, basically, like Rose, Sungjae. No one's using Cam Smith. I like that little bit up of Wyndham Clark and Minwoo personally a little bit better, but I should probably find a way to get Reed in. Because we've been talking about tiers the entire time, that there's a drop-off here, and there's a drop-off here. Once we get to Berger at 79, like Thigala and Fox are also 79. They're not in the same tier as Berger right now. Like, I think that's a drop-off after Berger.
Yeah, I mean, you just end up in like a balanced build too if you go some sort of range with those guys. I was looking at some of the builds there, and you're going to end up with like 2 9s, 2 8s, and 2 7s. It's just going to be tough to imagine that coming through with all those guys at the top, even outside of the big win equity that we keep talking about in Scotty, Rory, Bryson. You still have so many guys piled in up top there that there's just, and it's so easy to get to a combination of them that I find it a hard time to believe that that's not going to be the case.
Jeff asks from X, says, thoughts on Eugenio Chikara? I'm in. If there's one thing this show has proven is that I like him this week.
Thanks for tell us you just arrived without telling us, because that has been the theme for the show so far.
See, here's how you get your question answered immediately. Do we think Higo shows up here? Also, great shirt, Pat. Like, that could be no easier way than get your question on air than bring up a guy I bet on that I like, plus talk about my shirt.
And have a question before a statement, so to make sure you don't get banned, but still be able to get your statement in.
It's funny. I actually hadn't moved Higo into the player pool as he's $5,400. Oh yeah, I'm in. I bet him to be top lefty at 9-1, and then just kind of forgot about him DraftKings wise. But if I'm just going to play a bunch of goobers at the bottom anyway, I should at least play the goobers that I like.
How good can we get this lineup now?
Hey, you want to try one? All right, let's go back to the DraftKings lineup. Bryson, Rory, JT.
No, you can't.
Yeah, I can. Higo, Valimaki.
No, it's my boy, Sungjae.
And Moeller. There we go. There's the lot.
I'm putting like Higo, Burmeister, Chikara. Try and get all your guys in. But with Bryce and Rory, it lands on my guy, Sungjae Im. So I'm going to play that one instead.
So I got Rory, Bryson Thomas, Higo, Valimaki, Norgard, Moeller.
Norgard?
Wait, let's waste some money.
Yeah. Vala, Norgard. How bad does this even project?
Poorly? Quite poorly?
That's not as bad as you think.
Oh, good. So winning lineup is what you're saying. Would Bud Colley be a better play than Mitchell, even though he lacks course history? Sure.
I think he's fine.
I'm not using him, but the stats really like him.
There's Kitayama and Colley at the same price as Mitchell. So there's clearly options that you could go to.
And I like Kitayama a little bit better. There's a lot of short putts missed at this course. So, I mean, a lot of it's going to come down to that. That's very hard to predict who's going to make all of their 5-footers. But I don't want to say it negates putting because all of a sudden Kevin Yu doesn't 3-putt, he 4-putts, and then you're absolutely screwed. Same with Kitayama. But if some of the guys are going to miss some of the putts that they normally make, where my guys miss those putts anyway on a regular basis, then I feel better with the overall tee to green guys.
Yeah. What was the actual, I know there's more questions, but what was the actual like 5K guys that we liked?
Oh, I put them on the list. I'll reiterate the 5K guys that I like once again. Now that Higo is in the mix, Lego my Higo.
Who's the best ones though? Like you?
Eugenio and you are the two best ones.
Okay. And I need one more.
I think you're either at Mac Hughes, Higo, or Valimaki.
So let's go with your Higo call just for course fit and everything else that we talked about.
Don't forget that Higo has like big dead fucking last potential too. That's strongly a part of his brand.
Yeah, so you can mix them to whoever you think, but it is interesting. You can play like Rory, Ludwig, JT with you, Chikara, and Higo and still be a really good projection versus some of those lineups we looked at today. So these triple 5Ks, Pat, are definite possibilities as well.
Can you say that one to me again, please?
Yeah, so I just went with three guys you liked down there, which was Higo, Chikara, and you.
Higo, Eugenio. What do you make about Harris? It's funny because I just typed in the name wrong and then Harris English popped up. I kind of like Harris English.
And somebody just popped up and said, got enough length for this course.
Who?
Does Harris English have enough length for this course is one of the questions.
No, I don't think that he does, but he is one of the few that is, I mean, Henley's been one of these guys, Fleetwood, Connors. There's a couple guys that have just shown, it's not that they're necessarily course proof. It's just that they tend to play longer courses better than short courses just because that's how their game works.
Yeah. We didn't talk about Spieth either.
Yeah, I'm not playing him.
He's going to get that career Grand Slam right after Rory does.
You know, I'll be there to root him on. I would love if Spieth could win the career Grand Slam. I just don't think he's going to win it.
Yeah,
this year at least.
Mix, though. If you've already got Rory and Bryson in the lineup, you might as well throw Spieth in.
Yeah. So Higo, Eugenio, and you. And who did you say it was? Bryson, who and who?
JT, Rory, Ludwig, I believe. Yeah, put Ludwig and then bump Bryson up.
Oh, doing some Bryson bumps. Don't tell Brooks.
Brooks bumps are a common thing.
So Rory, Thomas, Ludwig, you, Eugenio, Higo. Yeah.
Yeah. I just think the more we looked at it, like these 5K guys are popping. And most people are going to pick one or like, oh, I'm not going to play Hughes chalk. I'll play somebody else. It's like, okay, but you could play, you're allowed to play Hughes and others, right? You can mix them up. So I was trying to see from like a projection standpoint, what was the best version possible I could get. You didn't really talk about your boy, Michael Kim, either.
He's coming off the old back injury. Don't like to see that from last week. Although he's giving away tickets on his Twitter right now. If you go over and check out Mike Kim's stuff and you're in the Charlotte area, I think he does have more tickets to give away. So maybe you can get in on that. He's been trending downwards. Like he had his run. I stuck with it a bit too long because he's a friend of the show. But I don't think it's crazy. I mean, he actually has a really good result at this course from 2 years ago, and he has the extra length. He's been good around the greens. I don't think it's inconceivable, but I think I'd rather take the shot on someone like if Eugenio comes, I don't know what. Maybe I'll end up throwing him on the betting card with like a 12 places or something, because I could see him coming like 8th out of nowhere, being like, and people are like, man, who is this guy? Why is he so good? That feels like a more of a narrative than Michael Kim being up there again this week to me.
Yeah, I think that's a better way to do it. And you're also sticking to your guns. Like you're using the guy that you've been on. So it makes sense to me from that perspective. I was trying to look at other builds. You can do like Bryson, Ludwig, JT with Valimaki, Keith Mitchell, and Nearguard Peterson. And you still have a pretty good projection. So that was just one that showed up.
Yeah, I bet you if you used Woodland in there, that would probably work out pretty well. Like Woodland will project better than Kevin Yu and Eugenio for sure. Mac Hughes probably does as well. Like if you really just wanted to find like the soft spot in projections, but I'm not using Woodland, so that's me.
Yeah, there's a lot of good ways you can go. Rory Ludwig, JT with you, Valimaki, and Chikara. That's nice.
I was going to go with this one. I was going to go Bryson, Ludwig, Thomas, Chikara, Jagger, Valimaki.
Chikara,
Valimaki. Because Jagger actually weirdly seems underpriced in this field.
He does. I always like Jaeger, so I'm fine with that.
I mean, I don't always like him, but at a bombs away course, this is where I tend to like him.
Yeah. Jaeger, major winner. Maybe he's first round leader.
He was up there at the Masters for first round too, wasn't he? Or was it the Players?
I forget what it was, but he plays well. I think it was the Masters. Didn't he finish 11th or something? No.
He may have been the Players. I think he was up there, and then Cust is like, "Oh, Jaeger is going to be first round leader." Then I think he made a triple bogey.
There you go. Yeah,
classic Cust stuff.
Yeah, these lineups just show that, again, like I said, even when you're not playing some of the top 3, you could still build stars and scrubs that fit easily and project well.
Yeah, someone asked in the chat about Rasmus. That was one of the things I kind of kicked off with, that I do like Rasmus Højgaard this week. He'll be a part of my player pool. I don't know what else I really want to do with him. We're running out of time here. Matt Tobin says, Sam Stevens is my guy. Comp course at Torrey, finished 31st and 2nd there this year. It's a great looking shirt. It's true. Looks like you shop at the Creek. I don't know what the hell that is. This is a Kurt River special if people want to go buy them online. What about KFT darling John Kiefer? The only time I remember random KFT guy ever working out was Zalatoris.
Yeah.
At the US Open at Winged Foot.
Yeah. What was I forget the other one. There was something else, but no, that's fine. I'm not super interested in any of these guys though.
Okay.
Jaeger was the guy, and someone mentioned it.
Seamus Power, pivot play for Hughes Chalk. I will say Seamus Power keeps popping up in every number I look at, but he's missed 3 cuts in a row and has been terrible. So I don't know what to make of that information.
Play him in your large field stuff, but make sure you play enough if you're doing it.
When you say play enough, let's say I play 50 lineups and I have Seamus Power in my player pool. Are you saying put him in 5 of 50 for 10%?
Yeah, something like that. I just think like what happens is people play 20 max mostly. So I'll compare it to what most people do. They play their 20 max. They say, oh, I'm going to make sure I get Seamus Power in one just because I heard a thing about him. And then it's like you played him in 1. What are the chances you got the other 5 guys completely accurate with him? If you actually have a feeling about him, stop spreading it out by 7 or 8 guys down there and pick the couple. Like you've been on Chikara the whole show. If he sucks, so be it. But you were in on him. But if he does well, you've got so many different lineups that and most of those lineups have really good options at the top. So you're not really yes, you need other things to go your way, but you kind of have lineups set up with Chikara where it's like you need 2 other guys to do well, and you need the other 3 to do their job that you're expecting them to do. And that's, again, not always going to work out, but it's what I'm saying is you already got half the battle because you got Chikara right in this example.
Final 2, Ryan asks, any love for Vegas? I just can't do it with Vegas. I think if you want to bet him top 20, I think he's 7-1 to come inside the top 20. That would be my preference over using him on DraftKings, weirdly enough. And then Michael gets the final ask of the day. Any love for Min Woo Lee this week? I would say yes. I am playing Min Woo Lee in my lineups.
The final ask for right now, Pat, but there's going to be a lot more asks later on this evening. Mayo Media Network.
8 p.m. Eastern. I will have it scheduled directly after this show. If you're not going to be able to make it at 8 p.m. Eastern time and still want to get in, throw your question into the chat. It'll be at the top, so I will come back to it almost immediately at the beginning of the show. So you can just tune in, get your question, and fuck off for the rest of the night and go build some lineups and do whatever it is that you want to do. I shall be watching The Valley with my wife tonight. You're not into Bravo at all, are you?
Oh, buddy, I'm all over it. Jax just hit rehab.
Okay, so yeah, I forgot you were in on Vanderpump. So yes, I haven't. Did you watch The Valley last night?
Yes.
I haven't seen it yet. We're saving it for tonight. Is he out of rehab?
I don't think it made it that far actually, but I've got some insider info that he might be out of rehab sooner than he's supposed to be.
Now this guy's talking about TV shows and about asking Feinberg. I'm going to talk about the TV shows that I watch. I don't really give a fuck about what you guys watch. We're going to talk about The Valley. Should we do another hour on The Valley?
We could. We have to set up a new episode. I do like Vanderpump and The Valley, though. I think these are the shows. I mean, with my wife watching them, I just tune in. Some shows are absolutely stupid. This one is kind of interesting. So I've been checking it out.
My sister-in-law told me that Jesse from The Valley reminds her of the evil, dead-eyed version of me.
That does kind of line up, actually. Sorry, but it does.
I mean, I'm a big fan of Jesse, so that's where I'm at.
All right.
He seems like the world's biggest asshole. I love it.
He
What a
certainly
TV
is.
character.
Yeah, you'll like this episode tonight, too.
Awesome. Is he still like just being a shithead to his shithead wife?
Yes, correct.
Awesome. I can't stand her.
You're going to hate her even more. It's perfect.
Perfect. Like it's the only show I can ever remember on TV where every single character is the absolute fucking worst person alive.
Yeah, this one, I mean, the Valley specifically, Vanderpump kind of had some favorites you could root for and some nice guys or nice girls. This one, like all of them, so bad. It's perfect.
Yeah, if you like darkness in your TV, the Valley should be for you.
Even the nice guy, forget his name now, but the guy with the wife and the kids, and he treats her like a queen. Even he fucks up tonight. So it's you got to watch this episode coming up. Even he makes mistakes.
Perfect. I'm loving this. My wife's going away tomorrow for her birthday on a trip, so we're gonna have the Valley, and then I'll have the weekend to myself. And we'll reconvene on the Valley next week when we do the show. I have to talk to you about next week, by the way, in terms of timing. We will not be live next week. That I shall tell you right now for Colonial, but we will still have a DraftKings show in this entire format. All right. I'll be back at 8 p.m. Eastern time tonight on Mayo Media. Check out the Ship It Nation YouTube channel as well, because I'm sure that Tambo and the crew will be going live over there to answer some of your questions as well. I'm Pat Mayo. Smash the like on the way out, and I'll see you next time.